And Shabbat Shalom, everybody. So this is our 32nd fellowship together. Praise Yahuah. 32 weeks. And we've had many more fellowships in between. So yeah, awesome. Glad everybody can make it. Glad you all can be here. I was hoping Katrina would show up. I think she may be taking a nap. We'll see. I've tried to get a hold of her, but no worries. But give me just a moment here. All right, so can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, so today we're going to be covering, so first we're going to go over the calendar for all the new people here. Hey, Shalom, Katrina.
Shalom, everybody. Sorry I'm late. My mom's rubbing my head. She's giving me a facial. Yes.
No worries, Shabbat Shalom. Made it just in time.
Yay! All right, who we got here? Rachel, Tanya, Carmen. Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome. Shabbat Shalom, Rachel,
Yeah,
Tanya, and Carmen.
welcome.
Yes,
Thank
glad
you.
you all, glad to have you, glad you can be here.
Now, what kind of calendar have you guys all been looking at or on?
Well, regardless, we can, so let's begin here. Let me share my screen here. So we're going to do a walk through the calendar, through the scriptures here. And, if anybody has questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, whether you say it here or if you put it in the chat, I'm monitoring the chat too. So we'll catch any of your questions by text as well.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I see Carmen doing the Saturday Sabbath, and yeah, that's what most people seem to follow. There's some who, they follow the lunar Sabbath and things of that nature. Excuse me. But today we're going to show, because, we've all been there. We've all been, the Saturday Sabbath, it hasn't been changed. But we're going to go through scriptures and show you, the Gregorian week is actually false and it's off. And we will go through scriptures, and feel free if you have any questions, go ahead and ask, whether you type them.
Stop, Jeremy or Marissa or me at any point and just ask the questions. If you have it on your heart, then a lot of other people will too. So ask the question, and just remember, his ways are higher than our ways. The Babylon calendar is not like his calendar. This Gregorian calendar, it's just one flowing 1 through 7 cycle nonstop. That's like the deception, where his creation week is held in the beginning of the year. That's where we get our Sabbaths. And it's held by the sun. And so there's another cycle that shoots off from that, because the luminaries were created on the 4th day.
Yeah,
and that starts yeah, I just wanted that get that over like that what is it called? Like brick upon brick. I don't know. But
Can
there's
I
two
add something
cycles.
here?
Yeah.
I would just like to add the Gregorian calendar is a construct of men.
Yeah.
So it was not always in place. That's just what our modern day calendar is. There was the Julian calendar and several others before that. And so I guess the foundation of this needs to be it's the luminaries that give us the calendar, specifically the sun. And so if we can just like lay down what we thought we knew and look to what does scripture say and what are the signs that we should be looking for to determine the calendar, then this teaching will go a lot easier.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. And yeah, feel free to ask questions. And I'm going to try and cover as much as possible here. And so this is going to be, just our basic presentation that we go over. And I do have an article. Actually, here, let me share it in the chat here if you all are new. Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Sumi. So there's a link to my article and my write-up, walking through the history of the sons of Zadok and the calendar. And it will have all this and more in it as well.
Yeah,
It's
it's
also,
really long, but it's really worth the read because all the scriptures are in there and all the visuals are in there. So, proving out Saturday can't be the Sabbath. And all of the wonderful details that Jeremy put in the article. So take the time. It's worth it.
yes, absolutely. Thank you. So, yeah, the Temple of Onias is in there a little bit as well. And I show the connection to the Dead Sea Scrolls, to Messiah, John the Baptist, Paul. I go over how they found the New Testament in Cave 7, and they attempted to blow up that cave to try and hide it. And no one really makes mention of that cave, but that's a whole another subject for a whole nother time. But
What's the importance of the Temple of Onias?
well, we're going to go over that here after this.
Oh,
So,
okay. I'm
yeah.
just trying to stall because a couple people are trying to get into.
Shalom, Kayleen.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom, Kayleen. And all the new people. Glad you all can be here. Praise Yah. So, yeah, really quick about the Temple of Onias. So it's a temple that was set up in Egypt by a son of Zadok after his father was killed by Antiochus of the Seleucid Empire for not wanting to follow the Babylonian moon calendar. And that led to basically the sect in Qumran, the Dead Sea Scrolls sect, which John the Baptist was the leader of. And then there was the sect in Egypt, which is actually how we got the Greek Septuagint, because Onias IV, who is the son of Zadok, he was friends with Ptolemy. And we actually see it's the fulfillment of Isaiah 20:19, where the temple to Yahuah was set up in Mitzrayim, or Egypt. And we're going to cover a lot of that today as well. So, yeah, Shabbat Shalom, Brandon. Glad you can make it. All right, so let's dive right in to the calendar here. So immediately starting right at the beginning of Genesis, so Genesis 1, this is going to be altogether verses 1 through 5. But here in verses 1 through 2, this is going to be the time before the counting of days. So in the beginning, Elohim created the Shamayim and the earth, the heavens and the earth. And the earth came to be formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Ruach of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. So verses 3 through 5 is going to show us the beginning, the light, which starts the counting of days. And Elohim said, "Let light come to be." And light came to be, and Elohim saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim separated the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, day 1. So here we can see on day 1, there was a formless void of darkness that existed for an unknown amount of time. And the light coming to be is what begins the counting of days, or time. So like flipping a light switch. Without the understanding of the light of Genesis 1:3, which is not the sun, and the light of Genesis 1:14, which is the sun, there's no chance of understanding the calendar of Yahuah. Taking this into account, we see that there is a division of time before time started, or a divider that is seen at the beginning of creation week. And Shabbat Shalom, Richard. So since creation week is the standard to start each year, we must take this void of time into account as well. This is the divider day that separates the years. So Yahuah works in divisions. He divides the light from the darkness. He divides the days. He divides the weeks, the months, and the seasons. Why wouldn't there be a yearly divider as well? This divider day keeps the calendar in sync with the heavenly markers each year, without drifting behind them or ahead, and then adding 7 days to the year to catch back up. Yahuah did not give us the heavenly signs and then tell us to wait until a Wednesday, or let the signs drift forwards or backwards each year to catch back up to them. Nor did the Gregorian week as we know it today exist when Yahuah created everything in the beginning. Why would the sons of Zadok align creation week to a Wednesday that didn't even exist at their time? So I'm speaking mostly about, those who do follow the Zadok calendar, but they're, adding this whole week every so many years to try and keep it lined up to a Wednesday so they can have a Saturday Sabbath.
Right. So Torah is light in the Zadok way. They both understand the importance of the equinox, which is fabulous. But then they want to take that sun sign, that straight line shadow, and then move it around to whatever Wednesday comes closest to get a Saturday Sabbath. And so that's nowhere in the scripture. That's them trying to fit our day 4, like the Gregorian day 4, on his day 4. And that is mixing. It's idolatry. It's not going to be tolerated by Yah. And so also, with the whole moon thing, the moon cycle has 354 days cycle. It's going to be 10 days off a year. And that's why they have to intercalate a 13th month after so many years because they're just in error. They're taking that sun sign, they're realizing it starts in the spring, but then they're moving it to a moon, like whatever, if they want a full moon, if they want a new moon, or well, like whatever. So, and that's not right. Nowhere in scripture do we see anyone citing the moon or taking. I'm sorry, did someone say something?
No, I just said yeah. I was
Oh,
agreeing with
okay.
you.
So yeah, we don't see anybody citing the moon for months. That's because Yah's months are simply counted. 30, 30, 31, totaling up, those seasons, 3 months per season, right? 30, 30, 31. The 31 is an intercalary day. And then you have all your feasts intact. 364-day year intact. All your Sabbaths intact. But the moon cycle is going to lead you off. Because, that's just not the way.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
Jeremy.
yeah, no worries. Shabbat Shalom, Ken. So yeah,
Yay!
so the moon.
Shabbat.
So yeah, the moon calendars. Whether it's the sighted moon, the sliver moon, the full moon, whatever moon. It's not going to be accurate because the moon is just off. So the moon is not going to be a determining factor for months. It's not going to be a determining factor for the weeks or the years or the festivals or any of that. And that's what we're going to show through scriptures here as well. And like Katrina said, you're not going to find an example of Moses citing any kind of moon for anything in the scriptures or how exactly to do so. And the word Chodesh, that is erroneously mistranslated to new moon, it has nothing to do with the moon at all. And I go through that in my write-up that I shared as well. I go through great detail about that and how Chodesh does not mean new moon at all. The word for moon is Yarak. The word for new is Ha. So new moon would be Ha Yarak. You won't find that once anywhere in scriptures. So continuing, so this is basically what Genesis 1 through 5 is describing here. So verses 1 through 2 is this darkness, this Chozek that became Layla. So the light coming to be, which on day 1 right here of creation week, it was not the sun, but rather, I believe this was Messiah. It was the Torah, because the Torah is light. Messiah is the living Torah. He is light. So this is that same light that will, cause in the new kingdom no need for there to be a sun or moon or stars to light up things. So we see the light starts today. Then we have the blending of the evening. Then we have the night. Then we have the blending of the morning. And then day 2 would start the same. As soon as that it's full light, meaning the bottom of the disk of the sun has broken the horizon. That's how we understand it. So we don't necessarily have to agree in that area, but that's our understanding, and that's what we can see through scriptures. So Jubilees, the book of Jubilees, chapter 2, verse 9. And Elohim appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Sabbaths, and for months, for festivals, for years, for Sabbaths of years, for Jubilees, and for all seasons of the years. Am I saying Yahusha was created? No, I'm not saying he was created. He is the light.
Right, but you're saying that the light, when it says let the light be, and before the sun and the luminaries were created on day 4, you're saying that the light,
Yeah, he is the light, that Torah.
yeah, right. But the verse that you shared on the previous screen in Genesis, can you go back to that one? Okay, whoops, I gotta look at it. Hold on. It keeps minimizing on me.
So the sun, moon, and stars were made on day 4.
Right.
This is still day 1. So this light
Right,
is
but
Messiah himself. I'm not saying he was created. He was already there before all of this.
but what does the verse say?
Let the light come to be, meaning, boom,
Let
the light
the
shined
light come to
here
be.
on the earth.
So,
Yes, exactly.
and he called the light day. It says verse 5, and he called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So Jesus, Yahusha, is not that light. He is the light of the world, but he was not created. So that's a different light than what's being spoken of here in Genesis 1:3-5.
Okay, so
because he calls it day.
We can agree to disagree about that.
Well,
So
he calls it day. So how do you refute that?
So this is because
he
he's
names
our
it there.
He's giving our example of a day, just like he is our example of how to follow the Torah.
But it literally says that light is the day and that the darkness is night. So he's not referring to Yahusha.
He called the light Yom, which means day.
So what he did was he created, did he not just create a 24-hour period and reserved it? And so it's a 24-hour period. And then on day 4 is when he created the sun and the moon that operate within that 24-hour period. But the light was there because he's part of Elohim, which is plural, yes?
Yes, he is that light.
No, so this light is called day, though, right there in Genesis 3:5. 1:5.
So please let me speak. So he is our example of what to do. He is our example of when a day begins.
No,
His light,
it doesn't say he's our example of what to do, but how is he our example of when the day begins?
I could see where you're coming from with that. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, there's obviously a day and a night to this creation cycle, right? I mean, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's light and darkness, day 1. But how are we getting the light and the darkness, being that there's no sun, moon, and stars, though, is kind of where I'm trying to go with that.
Right, but he divides the period of time, and he knows that he's going to have the luminaries, so he divided the time frame out.
Perfect.
But he didn't create Yahusha, so Yahusha can't be that light, because that verse already interprets itself and says that this light he's speaking about is daytime, so it can't be Yahusha.
I see that.
So where does it say that he created this light? This light was already here. He just let it shine on the earth at that time.
That's what I was about to say, Jeremy. Because like he brought it forth, he brought himself forth, he brought his word forth. He is the word. He didn't create the word. The word was always there. Yahusha is the Torah.
Exactly.
He didn't create the Torah. The Torah is always there. It's in the heaven, right?
The word was with God.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. And in this verse, he spoke, and that's how he created, was with his spoken word. And so he's creating here. In the beginning is when he began creating everything else. So Yahusha was with him in the beginning. And when he speaks with the spoken word and says, let light come to be, he's creating something, which can't be Messiah because Messiah predates creation.
So actually, in the account of Jubilees, it goes into greater detail about this. The light was already there. It was already there. When he says right here in Genesis, let it come to be, let it come to be on the earth. It was already there in the heavens. Yahuah is light himself. This darkness is just the darkness over the earth.
But what this says is let light come to be. It doesn't say Okay, so
Where
we'll
does it
look
say
at
that that
Jubilees
is created? So
because that's how he
we
created everything else that he made. He spoke it into
yes. So
existence.
in Jubilees chapter 1, it speaks about all the things that happened in this void of time that he created. The
Okay, well,
lights.
I got a
let's look at
question
that because I'm
I
very
got a
familiar with
question for
Jubilees.
Carmen, if I could
Yeah,
please.
sure.
So say let's just follow your logic through. So what is the end of what you're saying? Like, do you think what's the point of what you're saying? Like, you're getting somewhere with this.
So my point is that the script, the text interprets itself right there, so we shouldn't insert our own understanding when it clearly says that it's the daytime portion of time that he's speaking of.
But what
He
does that
can't be,
change? What does
he
that
can't,
change about any doctrine?
because if you're saying the light is Christ, then you're saying he's a created thing, because that is a creation verse, and Christ
And
precedes that verse.
so
Because Christ is Elohim, he's part of Elohim, it's a plural term. So it wasn't just Yahuwah speaking it. The hidden name of Yahusha that's mentioned in Enoch that we don't know of, but what the angels tricked Michael into giving them, and which is now hidden. And later in Revelation, when we receive our white stone with our new name, and everything's created again, it's done with Yahusha's hidden name. So there's power in that name. He is one of the creators, so he can't be this light because he's part of Elohim that spoke. That's what I'm saying.
He's Elohim, yet he still came to this earth as a human, as the Word brought to life and died.
Not at creation as light. He was one of the creators. He's not just a light. You're reducing him to a created thing.
But he manifested himself for us to see.
Like he created a
Right,
human
because he's a
bodily
creator.
form.
Right. So he doesn't get spoken into existence. He is Elohim that spoke. We can't be the light. That's the subject of that sentence.
But when
that makes
Yahuah
no
speaks,
sense.
his word is Yahusha goes out and never comes back void. So
right, but
you see what I'm saying?
But it's not just Yahuwah that spoke, it's Elohim, which is plural, which includes Christ, Yahusha.
Okay, I see. That makes sense, I guess. I see where you're coming from. But I still don't see it, even if that's so, I still don't see what that changes in the doctrine.
It makes it be Christ being a created being rather than a creator. If you're going to say that he's that light right there, he's a created being then.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
well, we can agree to disagree on about what this is saying, who this light is. We're not saying Messiah is a created being. We are not saying that at all. So Jubilees chapter 2, verse 2. Here we can read it. So we'll just start in verse 1.
Actually, yeah, Jeremy, yeah, if you can go over the creation count in Jubilees, it gives a better description on everything that was actually made each day of that first week of creation. It goes into more detail than Genesis does, for sure.
Right, the 22 creations, yes.
So the messenger of the presence, or the angel of the presence of Yahuah, spoke to Moshe according to the word of Yahuah, saying, write the complete history of the creation, how in 6 days Yahuah Elohim finished all his works and all that he created, and guarded the Sabbath on the 7th day, and kodesh it for all ages, or set it apart, and appointed it as a sign for all his works. For on the first day he created the Shamayim, which the heavens are above, and the earth, and the waters, and all the Ruach, the spirits, which serve before him, the messengers of the presence, the angels, and the messengers of the Kodeshah, the messengers of the set apart, the angels of the set apart, and the messengers of the Ruach HaRuachath, so the spirits of the spirits, and the messengers of the Ruach of the clouds, and of darkness, and of snow, and of hail, and of hoarfrost, and the messengers of the voices of the thunder and of the lightning, and the messengers of the ruach of cold and heat, and of winter, and of spring, and of autumn, and of summer, and of all the ruach of his creatures, which are in the Shamayim and on the earth, the abysses and the darkness, evening and night, the light, dawn and day, which he has prepared in the knowledge of his heart. So here we can see on the first day he created all these things here. 7 great works he created on the first day is what it says right here, verse 3. And then it goes on to continue, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth day. So right here, before that light came to be, he created all of these things. Then that light coming to be is what begins our counting of the days.
The first day is what counts the days.
The light coming to be, this is what starts our counting of the days. So please let me continue. We can agree to disagree what the light is. I have a whole article in my section, Walking Through Scriptures When a Day Begins, and it's at full light. This is what we also see in this
Well, I
example.
agree,
Right.
but I'm just at, how can you can't prove that Genesis, I just proved to you that the verse you're saying makes Jesus the light that comes to be. It can't be because he is one of the creators. So that isn't the start. The start is on the first day when he
Yeah, but
starts creating
wouldn't
things,
it
day one at dawn.
also say when, God, no man ever saw God or Yah, but then the Messiah is Yah? So if you can make that correlation, I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but if I can get across my point here in a second.
No, that was good, Lisa.
And then Genesis 1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So I'm reading from the KJV. So was the heaven or the Shamayim like where Yah dwelt? Like it was always there, but he created it to be a place in the earth, and the earth without form and void. So it was there, but it was formless and void. If that correlation connects with anybody, if I'm making any sense, I'm sorry, Simi. Does that sound like that makes sense?
Except for the heavens, I think he's talking about the second heaven or whatever heaven, like the stars and
The
everything.
expanse, the
Yeah,
expanse in
exactly.
the sky under the
Exactly. But
right.
the light coming to be, I mean, Yahweh's whole creation point was that he was going to come redeem his people. So he had to put himself here. He had to come. I mean, and so the Genesis is a revelation of everything to come. It's literally the seed. So all that light coming to be is him putting himself there in the beginning.
That makes sense.
Can I add something?
Sure.
Please.
Please.
I believe that the light is truth. I believe that when he created the darkness and the abysses, he was separating truth from darkness, or light from darkness, so that there is a distinction between the two. We know Messiah is truth, the Torah is light. I'm not saying that he was manifested on the first day. He was certainly around before the first day. But what God's putting into place here is regulations and structures and an environment where that light can be seen and can be used for good. And if it's not used for good, as it wasn't in some stage, then there's also darkness involved with that. Hence, you've got light being day and night being dark. And when we look at the calendar, there's a correlation between children of light and children of darkness. There's children that follow the Torah and follow the law, which is the light that was brought in at the beginning. And the people with pride become the children of darkness that is then the night, if you see what I mean.
But there's a difference between the kingdom of darkness versus day and night, because everything Elohim created, he called good. So when he's separating the light from the darkness and the day from the night, those are all good things he created. He's not talking about the kingdom of wickedness and spiritual darkness. He's talking
No,
about literal day and
absolutely.
literal night.
Absolutely, and it is made for good. The way that we are tested is through, the way that our faith is tested is through temptation and through maybe the darkness coming towards our light. Do you know what I mean?
So I know what you mean. They even have, I hate to bring up the Jewish, synagogue of Hasatan, but they have this whole thing, the rabbis, in one of their little things, and it talks about how evil is even counted as a blessing when you go through it, because, the more you go through, the more blessed you are if you come out the other side.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense to me.
And if we look at the
So,
day of,
but
if we look at the Day of Atonement, if I could just say this bit, we're asked to afflict our souls on the evening before the day. That means prepare yourself through the darkness, i.e., prepare yourself through the night, through temptations, through all the things that could come at you, so that when you come to the day, the light, you're all prepared and ready to go.
no,
And
it's a misunderstanding, because that is one of the feasts that actually starts at sundown. Because if you compare all the scriptures that dictated, it's telling you that the date will change, because of course the day begins at sunrise. So it starts at sundown on the 9th of that month, and it ends at sundown on the 10th of that month. And afflicting your souls, yes, that is the day we're commanded to fast and to repent, and it's going to foreshadow Judgment Day. Well, I mean, we have the 3 feasts in the fall that foreshadow all of that. But anyway, yeah, but that's not, it's
no,
because it's a nighttime feast. It starts at sundown and then it ends at sundown the next day, because it tells you in the text that it's switching dates.
yeah,
Just like
Carmen.
how Passover starts at sundown.
Yeah, Carmen. If you need to show up on a Sabbath day, and you need to show up clean, you need to keep yourself the evening before. Meaning that if you had sexual relations with your husband the night before Sabbath, then you're going to show up on the Sabbath unclean. So in order to keep yourself clean for that day, you observe yourself or keep yourself strictly away from any temptations and any tests the evening before, so that when the day comes, the Day of Atonement, you're clean and you can set yourself forward for that.
Right, but that has nothing to do with a daytime and nighttime. It as the start of a calendar, or the start of creation, or when we're starting our
So
start day. The atonement and holiness is not this. That's a spiritual darkness and sin that's talking about. It's not talking about the nighttime portion, which is not evil. Evil things can happen at night because Satan uses the darkness for cover, but Yahuah created it good. Elohim created it good. So the day and night are good. It's a 24-hour period. So he reserved the period of time beginning on day 1. And then when he created all the things, they fit within those 24-hour day cycles. And on day 4 is when he created the light, and it fit perfectly within those 24 hours that he set aside on day 1, because he started counting in those 24-hour cycles on day 1. So he's not going to confuse us and be like, well, this day has a bunch of mystery in it, but then these days are 24 hours. He's telling us what a day is. It's the daytime portion, 12 hours, then your evening hours until midnight, then your pre-dawn morning hours, and then at sunrise, your next day starts. So it's daytime, evening, morning, the first day. Daytime, evening, morning, the second day.
Can you go back
yeah,
to how you explain the Day of Atonement?
As far as the
okay.
date,
So guys, we're getting stuck on
Yeah,
literally
and
the first.
sidetracked.
Yes, I have not even explained or begin to explain the calendar. We're getting stuck on Genesis 1. So if I may be allowed to continue, please. Hopefully it will clear up more of your questions. So we can go on all day about what this light is, what it means, this, that, and another thing. But the thing is, we have a lot of evidence through scriptures of what is going on here.
But it was a good conversation, though. So thank you, Carmen.
Yeah.
Right.
We appreciate it. So, Jubilees chapter 2, verse 9 is going to tell us that the sun is the great sign for all of these things here. So, days, weeks, months, years, Sabbaths, Jubilees. So, there is also a sign for when the weekly Sabbath day will begin. And so, the same chapter, Jubilees 2, verse 18. So, and all the angels of the face and all the angels that cry holy to us, these are two great kinds. He said that we should observe the Sabbath with him in heaven and on earth. So, verse 21, so he created there a sign in accordance with which they should guard the Sabbath with us on the seventh day. So the sign he created, he already told us here in verse 9, it's the sun is going to be this great sign. So this sun sign that he created is going to show us when the seventh day of creation week is going to be. So we are able to observe the Sabbath together with them who are in heaven. So the sun
But
is going to be...
in verse 17, he says that the Sabbath is a great sign.
Yes, the Sabbath is one of these great signs. He also says...
So the sun in verse 9 divides the days and the weeks and the months, but then verse 17 is starting because verse 16 says that he finishes work the sixth day. Then verse 17,
yes,
he gave us a great sign. So the Sabbath itself is a sign.
Yes, it
so
is.
it's not referring
it's
to the sun in verse 19. It's referring to the Sabbath.
It's actually referring to the great sign, the sun, on which he created therein a sign in accordance with which they should guard the Sabbath with us on the seventh day. This is the angel speaking.
This literally says, and he gave us a great sign, comma, the Sabbath day, comma.
No, not in Jubilees 2:21.
In verse 2:27, in 2:17, and he gave us a great sign, comma, the Sabbath day, comma, that we should work 6 days but keep the Sabbath.
If I can be allowed to speak, I'm trying to answer your question.
Yes, but if you're going to say that it's the light, the sun is the sign, when it literally says 2 verses previously that the Sabbath is the sign, you're twisting scripture.
The Sabbath is the sign of his people. And then there is a sign to guard the Sabbath with them on the seventh day.
Jeremy, I feel like she has came here for a purpose.
Yes, it seems like
no, I want to understand your case, but
no,
you're disturbed. Yes, I do, and you're twisting scripture.
He's giving a lecture. He's giving he's teaching. He's doing the same thing he's done for months and months. Once we go
he said questions were welcome, and I'm asking as you go.
After, so like
no, I know. No, I
said
just
we
said
could
during.
Ask as
I said during, and this is fine. She's just looking at trying to understand it. Look,
it's Yah's time, and
it's Yah's time. It's important.
Like, yeah, I mean,
she's asking fair questions. Like, everyone just needs to calm down and just help her out.
Well, I
don't think it's a very fair question because I'm trying to answer her question and she's interrupting me before I can answer.
Yeah.
So yes, verse 17 is speaking of the Sabbath day being a sign of what his people. That's what all throughout scriptures it says. Sabbath is a sign, the mark of his people. There is a sign in the heavens which we will get to show us when the seventh day is.
But the Sabbath itself is a sign because the angels also obey it.
The marker, the equinox, the tekufa that will mark day 4 of creation week. 3 days later is going to be the seventh day Sabbath. It's literally the menorah method. Why is the fourth branch the straightest branch on the menorah? Because we are getting the Tekufa spring equinox rising directly east, shining, marking day 4 into the temple, lighting up the Holy of Holies, marking the 4th day of creation week, the beginning of the months. Fourth branch, menorah, longest, straightest branch for a reason. These are curved. Why? Because if you track this, you will see the line will curve if you track the sun all day. So from sunrise to sunset, you put a stick in the ground. You mark the end of that stick with a rock for every hour. You're going to get a curve in the line that will slowly get straighter and straighter until the equinox hits. It will be perfectly straight. And then 1, 2, 3 branches later is the 7th branch, 7th day of the week, Shabbat. This is the proper, true menorah method that the priests in the temple knew exactly what to look for to mark day 4 of creation week.
So, Jeremy, what you're saying is the sun is established as a great sign, and then also that in 2:17 that the Sabbath is also a great sign.
Yes, the Sabbath is the great sign for his people.
Okay, I was just looking through Jubilees to see like where she was mentioned that, where it says and he gave us, parentheses, the angels, a great sign, comma, the day of Sabbath, comma. So, like, because my thought was, how could he on day 4 establish the sun as a great sign, and then on day 7 is also established as a great sign? How did those two work together to almost establish each other?
So in Enoch, it talks about the sun coming through the 4th great gate on the 4th day. So there you have that great marked in the great sign to start your month, right? Because of the wheel within the wheel. But it does say in Enoch that it goes through the 4th great gate. So there's your great sign.
Yes, because it's
Right.
marking the seasons, the weeks and the days and the months. And then we know that the day after the equinox is the day 1. But that doesn't, the Sabbath is more than just a sign of his people. The angels in verse 18 are committed to keeping the Sabbath, and they're not, quote, his people. So it's for Yahuah because he deserves the praise, and for Yahusha because he deserves the praise. So the Sabbath is also a blessing for man because he made man for the Sabbath, he made Sabbath for the man, not man for the Sabbath. So it's a blessing for us, but it's for him because he's worthy, and all of heaven celebrates it and worships him. So it's not just a sign of his people. The Sabbath, it is a sign, and it's in and of itself. And yes, the sun is our calendar, but it's not the same sign that's being talked about in 18 and 19. The Sabbath is, because it qualifies it right there with verse 17.
Right. And I
When
just shared that in the Telegram where it says on 2:8, he established the sun as a great sign over the earth and for days and for Sabbaths, months, festivals, years, and jubilees, and for all seasons of the year. So um I just going back to the beginning of what you were just saying, no, we don't believe that the year begins the day after the equinox, because the equinox straight line shadow is that great sign that the sun gives us on day 4 of the week.
Yeah, and we can't forget too, and this is getting a little ahead, and I know Jeremy will cover it later, but the 4th day of creation, we also do rest as a Sabbath. And Jeremy will cover that later, I'm sure. But that's a day of rest also.
Yeah, it's a HaKodesh, so it's a Tekufa. It's a Sabbath day.
And yes, this verse in 221 is absolutely speaking of a sign in accordance with which they should guard the Sabbath. So there's a sign in accordance with which they should guard the Sabbath. This sign he spoke of was the sun to be a great sign for the Sabbath.
Well, he says in verse
How do we
18,
get that sign? Just like this. It's the great menorah sign, the Tekufa, the equinox that marks day 4, that lights up the Holy of Holies in the center of the temple and the tabernacle, only on this day. That's it. The
can you go
priest
back
would
to
know.
verse 18 though?
Yes.
Carmen,
So he said
in Jubilee, sorry.
So we should observe the Sabbath with him in heaven and on earth. Why? Because the Sabbath is a great sign of his people, a mark of his people. Then there's going to be a sign in accordance with which they should guard the Sabbath. That sign in accordance with which they should guard the Sabbath. What sign? The sign of the sun. The Tekufa equinox,
Yeah,
marking day 4.
because otherwise, like, how would you know when the true Sabbath day is when we've been so incredibly lied to throughout all of our generations? Nobody can change the sign that the sun gives, that Yahuah commands it to give year
Well,
from year.
so in my Jubilees, it's in verse 18, it says, and all the angels of the presence and all the angels of sanctification, these two great classes, he hath hidden us to keep the Sabbath with him in heaven and on earth.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like he's keeping the angels there, the angels of the presence and the angels of the sanctification are who guard the Sabbath.
Yes. And so then he created a sign in accordance on which they should guard the Sabbath. What sign is that? The sun.
But where does it say that he created a
Sabbath.
sign? Where does it,
Right
what
here,
verse says that?
Jubilees 2:21.
Okay.
And so he created therein a sign in accordance with which they should guard the Sabbath with us on the 7th day.
So
This
it's
isn't talking
basically
about the
saying that,
Sabbath.
sorry, Jeremy, it's basically saying that if you go according to that sign and you count your days, you're going to know which day is the Sabbath.
But where are you getting that the sun is even being discussed here? Because the sun was discussed in verse 9. And then we're all the way in verse 16. Okay, but no, because then in verse 16, we're all the way to the 6th day now. And then on verse 17, we're into the 7th day, and we're just continuing to talk about the 7th day. And the sign, it is a sign itself, and it continues to just talk about the 7th day. So it never goes back and says, and we're talking about the sun here. It's switched topics, and it's talking about the Sabbath, which is a sign. So it's never goes back and says the sun.
Let's go back here to verse 2, or chapter 2, verse 9. And Yahuah pointed the sun to be a great sign for days, for Sabbaths, and for months and festivals, Sabbaths of the years, jubilees, all seasons of the years. So what is this great sign of the sun? Well, as he continues, he goes on, it's still talking about the sign, how it's going to be a sign in accordance to guard the Sabbath day. After he's speaking how important the Sabbath day is, that the Sabbath itself is a sign for his people, which is what we read all throughout scriptures. So he created a sign in accordance. So this sign, what did it just say in verse 9?
It says the sun is the great sign.
Yes.
4 days and Sabbaths and months and weeks. But then it switches topics.
No, Carmen, it's not for days. It doesn't say it's for days.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, in my book of Jubilees right here, it says, and God appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days and for Sabbaths and for months and for feasts and for years and for Sabbaths of years and for Jubilees and for all seasons of the years. And then we get to verse 10, and it divideth the light from the darkness and for prosperity and all things that may prosper, which shoot and grow on the earth. These 3 kinds he made on the 4th day. And on the 5th day he created great sea monsters. And then, and then he created man on the 6th day. And then we get to verse 17 where we're in the Sabbath, which is a sign. And he never goes back and talks about the sun. So
So
I
Carmen,
understand that the sun runs the weeks, the days, the months, the years, and the seasons. But we're already past the sun. We've gone to sea monsters. We've gone to the creation of man.
so how are
Now we're
you
on the
getting your
Sabbath
Sabbath day?
day.
How are you getting your
It's the
Sabbath
seventh
day?
day of the week.
Yes, but the seventh day of the week, like my birthday is 9/11. This year it's on, I don't even know, Tuesday. Next year it's going to be on a Wednesday.
Right, but
That
the date is not the same as the day. The date on a 365 calendar will change every year, but on a 364-day calendar, the date won't change because the day won't change because it's
right.
divisible by 7.
So
So the
what
seventh
calendar?
day
So
is
how are
What
the
you getting
calendar
your
Sabbath.
are you?
Sabbath day on a Saturday, the seventh day? Where are
It's
you
the
getting
seventh
your
day of the
Sabbath?
week. So because the Romans changed the calendar by a 2-week jump, so we're in the middle of Yahuah's biblical month when one of our months starts, but there's no evidence that the 7-day week has changed. It's
Actually,
divisible
there
by
is
7.
because he never named his days. He only ever numbered them. So you have two different sequences happening in the Gregorian calendar, where we've got Sunday through Saturday as our kind of foundation in the Gregorian, but yet you, we're not worried about names. We're worried about numbers, and he only ever numbered
Right,
them.
exactly.
He
And so it's
he only ever
perfectly
numbered them.
divisible.
The
364 is divisible
Gregorian
by 7. So, yeah, so you can, it doesn't matter because even if the day on the calendar, the date on the calendar changes, the days of the week are still rolling in 7, 1 through 7, 1 through 7, 1 through 7, 1 through 7. So it doesn't
No,
matter
no,
if the,
no,
yeah,
no.
January doesn't start the beginning of the year, so
I know. Yeah, they're
someone
2
can
weeks
help me
off.
out here with
The beginning
what
of the week, the beginning of the year is in mid-March,
the
roughly,
Takufa is always on. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, not the straight line shadow. The equinox is always on the 16th, correct, Jeremy?
in mid-March, exactly.
But the day of the week is going to change of the
Right. But
16th.
it's still a 7-day cycle on the week. So it doesn't matter if they because when they
Not.
changed the calendar, they erased 2 weeks and basically jumped us forward, but they did it in a 14-day, so it was still divisible by 7. So
So
they
the
didn't,
Gregorian calendar, when it jumped 10 days, not 14.
well, I'll have to see that because I've only ever seen 14.
Okay, it's very easy to look up. If you Google it,
Okay.
it changed from like a Thursday on the 5th to like Friday the 15th. It jumped 10 days, not 14. So it wasn't an equal 7 plus 7 or anything like that.
Okay. I'll have to check that out then.
I'm curious, Carmen, what's the calendar that you keep or you feel
Well,
confident in keeping now?
well, I don't believe it's a perfect reconciliation, but the Zadok Way calendar is the closest,
Okay,
that
so
I've
the
found so
Zadok
far.
Way is what I definitely loved as well. I followed him for years. The problem that I'm having.
Katrina, you broke up. Sweetie, we can't hear you.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Closed out, came back in. Always works. So Carmen, yeah, that's the one that I was following for forever, and so was Jeremy. But it hit us one day. Why are they moving the sun sign, the equinox day, to whatever Wednesday they want, just to maintain a Saturday Sabbath? That's the only reason, because there is no instruction to do so. We cannot go back through time and say, oh, hey, look, there was a consistent 7-day cycle since creation. It's impossible. Before this Gregorian calendar, there was an 8-day week and a 10-day week, and Saturday was actually day 1 of those weeks. So we can't go back and track Saturday or Wednesday being 4th day. No, we can't. We're using the sign in the heavenlies to mark day 4. So whatever day that comes in, that's the day 4 in his time. But if we move it to fit our Wednesday for a Saturday Shabbat, that is mixing and it's pure idolatry. It's wrong on so many different levels, and Yah is not going to be happy about it.
Katrina, breathe, sis. Breathe. Look, and also, because me and my husband were also following the Zadok Way calendar where they move the week. And we have been noticing, because our fellowship over here that we don't attend anymore, they still are following it. And so when my husband took off work for the summer solstice, they who follow the Zadok Way were a week late. Like my husband showing up, talking about, look, it got hot. Like the day after that, it got like, it was the hottest day of the year. Well, the same people who keep the calendar with us, but they put that week in there, they're a week late. They're missing the marks.
Gotcha.
Right.
I'll have to check out what you're saying.
Yeah, when you want to move those days, you're going to have to intercalate a week. Well, why do you have to intercalate a whole week after so many years? It's literally because you're just moving the sun sign. That's the only reason. There's not an allowance, to move that sun sign to wherever we deem fit. And then there is no allowance to intercalate a 13th month like the lunar people do. There's not any kind of instructions to, make Yah's day 371 by adding an extra week every so many years. All you have to do is not move the day 4. Keep the day 4 as the equinox and you're golden. And you have his creation week set up perfect.
Yep. And you're going to hit all of the signs in the heavens, all of the astrological signs. I mean, everything just falls into place whenever you stop adding that week and you start going by the moon. And it's so simple. Just stop. Stop doing it. Don't do that.
Does that make sense?
It does. I still just my original question. I mean, I'll have to hear your study on that part of it, okay? But from just the text of Jubilees, I would say it's it's kind of a leap to say that necessarily. But I understand that the sun is a sign for days, Sabbaths, months, weeks, all that. But then it switches topics to the Sabbath, and it doesn't go back and tie the great sign to the sun necessarily. So I'll continue hearing your case, but when we're looking at scripture, I like to be very specific when the verse says something, because there's so many people that will take something and run with it when it's not what it says. So I just always want to make sure we're not doing that,
Yeah, but Carmen, it says it on the screen, is a great sign on earth for days and for Sabbaths.
Yep. Yeah, and it's not for weeks. Weeks aren't included. The months are included, the Sabbaths included, the years are included, but the weeks are not included.
It is. It's in the text in verse 9. It is.
No, I'll read it for you. And God appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Sabbaths, and for months, and for feasts and years and Sabbaths of years. It says nothing about weeks.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You're right. That's what for feasts, for years, for Sabbaths of years. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I misspoke earlier. I apologize.
So we're just saying that great sign that the sun makes is that straight line shadow on day 4 of the week when it was created. And then keeping the Sabbath 3 days later is a great sign for his people that we're in covenant with him.
But what verse are you using, I guess, to get the great line shadow in the menorah? I mean, like I see the picture of the menorah, but where are you getting? Yeah,
so
that part.
That's the thing, is I haven't been able to get past the first paragraph to show the rest of the evidence and historical facts through the Dead Sea Scrolls to show these things.
All right.
Maybe just hold your questions until the end, or at least let us get through a little bit of the scripture that proves out all of this stuff. You know what I mean, love? Like, no hard feelings. I totally understand your passion. I see it. I respect it. You want to get down to the nitty gritty, as do we all. And hey, if we're wrong, I want to be able to stand up and say I'm wrong, but just Be patient with us. We haven't gone through all the verses yet. That will prove it. So just hang tight, and we're definitely going to get there.
Okay.
Yeah, and real quick, Carmen, I did take a screenshot of when I Googled the Gregorian, and I misspoke. It wasn't 10 days. They jumped 11 days. But still, it's not that equal 14 that you would get in like a weekly cycle, you know, plus another weekly cycle. So it shows that it jumped um, from a Thursday, October 4th to Friday, the 15th of October. So 11 days.
Okay.
Okay. So, continuing on, reading again in Jubilees, chapter 50, verses 1 through 4, he's speaking, it's going to be about the Sabbaths of the years. So, showing there's a distinction between the weekly Sabbath each year. So, and after this law, I made known to you the days of the Sabbath in the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. And I told you of the Sabbaths and of the land of Mount Sinai. And I told you of the Jubilee years in the Sabbaths of the years. But the year thereof I have not told you until you enter the land which you are to possess. And the land also shall keep its Sabbaths, while they dwell upon it. And they shall know the Jubilee year. So what we're seeing is there's a difference between the years and the months as well. Because there's going to be different cycles, which we're going to get into later, which is going to be the two witnesses that are bringing in the year. So therefore I have ordained for you the yearly Sabbaths, meaning the yearly Sabbath is divided, and the years of the Jubilees. There are 49 Jubilees from the days of Adam until this day, and 1 week and 2 years, and there are still 40 years to come for learning the commands of Yahuah, until they pass over into the land of Canaan, crossing the Jordan to the west. So the sun's analemma, and from vernal equinox to vernal equinox, also shows us 365 days in between them. Job alludes to this divider day as his day of birth in Job chapter 3. So verse 6, that night let darkness seize it. Let it not be included among the days of the year, and let it not come into the numbering of the months. So it's not counted in the days of the year. It's not counted in the numbering of the months. That's pretty important to remember because we're going to get into this later.
But he's talking about the day of his birth that he's cursing.
Yes.
In that verse.
Right.
So this is going to be an allusion to this divider day. Why is it cursed? Because his children were celebrating their birthdays, and Job, like, let's say you were born on February 29th, a leap year. Since February 29th only happens once every 4 years, you're not going to have a birthday every year, technically. This is the same thing Job is alluding to, and he's alluding to it not being included in the days of the year or the numbering of the months. So Genesis 5:23 through 24. All the days of Enoch, Hanok, were 365 years. So we can see Enoch walk the earth for 365 years. The divider day is day 365, although it is not counted in the numbering of days, months, or years, as Job himself alluded to. So an allusion means it's hinting at something, but not speaking of it.
But later, in Enoch, they refer to him in his 500th year because they still are going and calling out to him, like when Noah's born and his dad's all
Yes,
freaked out.
because he didn't die.
Right. But
Or he
so,
was living.
I
So
don't know why the 365.
so you're saying Genesis 5:23 through 24 is incorrect in saying he went
No,
365 years.
no, I'm just saying he was still alive. He's still alive today in the Garden of
Yeah,
Eden.
yeah.
So so why is the 365 necessarily alluding to something is all I'm asking, because they were continuing. He was on the earth 365 years, and then he was conducted into the Garden of Eden, but then they were still able to holler out to him and he came back out, and it was still numbering his days. So how is there being anything alluded to if they were continuing to track his? It's just measuring
So
that that's how long he was here, with them before he was taken.
Nothing's
But
a
how is
coincidence.
So no, there's no coincidence that from vernal equinox to vernal equinox is 365 days, like I just had read before.
right? But in Enoch, the year is 364. So why do we care about 365? Is my question.
So that's what we're going to be getting into as well.
Keep going, Jeremy. You're doing great.
Thank you. So Jubilees tells us the yearly 364-day count begins at creation and is numbered in 52 weeks of 7 days. So Jubilees 1, verse 27 and 29. We're going to start with 27. And he said to the messenger of the presence, write for Moshe from the beginning of creation until my Mikdash has been built among them forever. Jubilees 129. And the messengers of the presence who went before the camp of Israel took the tablets of the divisions of the years, showing there's a division of years, starting from the time of creation, of the law, and of the witness, of the Sabbaths, of the Jubilees, according to the individual years, according to all the number of the Jubilees, from the day of creation, when the Shamayim and the earth shall be renewed, and all their creation according to the powers of the Shamayim, and according to all the creation of the earth, until the Mikdash of Yahuah shall be made. And Mikdash is temple or tabernacle, shall be made in Jerusalem on Mount Zion. And all the lights be renewed for healing and for peace, and a barakah or blessing for all the chosen of Israel. And so it shall be from that day, the beginning of creation, and to all the days of the earth. So what we're seeing is the counting starts from the day of creation, day 1, week of creation. We can also see, we can also see the lights, meaning the luminaries, will be renewed for healing and peace. So they're not going to be no longer used for light like they are today in the new kingdom, but they are going to be there, but they're going to be renewed for healing, peace, and blessings. So Jubilees 6, 30 through 33. And all the days of the command shall be 52 weeks of days. So 52 weeks of 7 days. And these shall make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraved and ordained on the tablets of the heavens. And there is no neglecting this command for a single year, or from year to year. Year to year, meaning not once, is adding 7 days to this count mentioned. There's no 53 weeks of 7 days ever in here. We don't see that in Enoch. We don't see adding a week, a month, or any intercalation whatsoever all throughout scriptures. Not once. And in fact, we see from year to year, every year, it's going to be 52 weeks of 7 days, 364 days, starting at 0. So you shall command the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days. And these shall constitute a complete year, and they shall not disturb its time from its days, and from its festivals. For all shall fall out in them, according to their witness. And they shall not leave out any day, or disturb any festivals. But if they neglect and do not observe them according to his command, then they shall disturb all their seasons, and the years shall be dislodged from this order, and they shall neglect their laws, the laws of the luminaries that show us when to begin things. So Lamentations 2 verse 6 is talking about the Sabbath day being forgotten. He has demolished his booth like a garden, has destroyed his place of meeting. Yahuah has made the appointed times, meaning the festivals, and the Sabbath days, to be forgotten in Zion, and despises sovereigns and priests in his raging displeasure. So this clearly shows the Sabbath day was lost. How can it be lost if it was a constant 7-day endless cycle from year to year? They could just count to 7 and be like, haha, we got you, Yahuah. Can't hide it from us. Why would there need to be a sign each year to know exactly when the 7th-day Sabbath was if there wasn't a yearly division of the weekly cycle? 52 weeks of 7 days. A very interesting find has been discovered in 4Q324D, which is a Dead Sea Scroll. We have the PDF there in our PDF section as well. You can find it online as well if you look for it. So this specific scroll is a newer find, and it's not going to be in, any previous Dead Sea Scroll books like Giza Vermes, Michael Wise, Florentino Garcia Martinez. It's not in their books because this was found after those were published.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
The first one is, because I have ADD and I'll forget if we don't address them. I'm sorry. Okay, my first question is, why do we start with 0 instead of 1? And my next question is, does it really say the Sabbath is lost, or does it just say that they basically stopped observing it? I understand the calendar goes astray because the Jews are keeping a lunar calendar, and they've led everybody astray with it. But but out of rebellion and disobedience, the Yahudim often, didn't keep Sabbath, right? So, couldn't it just be that it was not being practiced as opposed to being lost? I get that the 10 days a year too soon is going to mess up the years and the months, and that's why they think we're in year 5,800 and whatever. But that's my question.
So if I may, I can answer one of them. So he removed it from them. It's not that they just stopped keeping it. He removed it from them because they were polluting it. They were mixing profane things on his set apart day. And it's a day that is supposed to be completely and totally sanctified, right? And they were bringing pagan things into it because of the surrounding cities that were around them that he had warned them to not do. Like, don't worship me like these nations worship their gods. And they were doing that. And so he caused them to forget the Sabbath so that they would stop polluting it.
Right, but that doesn't mean it was lost necessarily. It just means that they didn't keep it anymore. That's what I'm
Well, no,
saying.
because they were
And then they
polluting
were
it. They were
and then they were
polluting
kicked out
it.
of the land too, because they weren't giving the land her Sabbath. So then they were removed from the land. Right, they were polluting it, but so
So how
they
is
got
that not
kicked out
keep?
and they lost their identity. But that doesn't mean that we lost, nobody on earth knows when the Sabbath is. I mean, that's all
Yeah,
I'm getting at,
because
is how does it mean that?
because people forgot how to keep it. They forgot how to track the luminaries. They forgot how to keep the day holy. He's not going to just, oh, okay, everybody, here's the seventh day, you try your best. No, they forgot how to even track it. Like, he took it from them. It was done. And we could see that today. You think that the Jews in the land are keeping the right Sabbath and the abominations that they do and they keep? You think they kept the true Sabbath? Not a
at
chance.
all.
Yeah.
No, not at
So,
all. They're not Yahudim at all.
and neither did Constantine. Did he? Create this new calendar week and think that he's going to do it according to the way that Yah set it up? Did he use the luminaries to do so? Absolutely not. And that's our difference here. We're different in the sense that we are using the luminary, the great luminary, as the scripture says to. The two signs that are given, we are using those. We're mapping out the true creation week, starting at 0. And that goes on for 364 days when you get back to the 0, which would be the 365th day out of the year. Because from vernal equinox to vernal equinox, there are, in fact, 365.2 days in a solar year. So we're just making sure that we're aligning that creation week to the sun signs. So when the sun sign comes in on day 0, equal day, equal night in Jerusalem, it's set, it's solid, it's there. And then day 1 of creation week comes, day 2, day 3, day 4. And when that day 4 comes, that's when the luminaries were created. That's when we kick off our count of the months. So there's 2 cycles there, and we have proof of these 2 cycles. But we can't not say that we don't experience 365 days a year. We're keeping the 364-day cycle starting from day 0 and going on. And that is the beauty of it, because it's held firm. So every March 16th, we're going to find that there is an equal day, equal night in Jerusalem every single year. And then boom, day 1 of creation week. And guess what the whole world marks that as? St. Patrick's Day. They mock. And so we have day 1 right there. Day 2. And so it just, and then boom, the straight line shadow comes in 4 days later. And it fits perfectly because you have the 2 solar signs marking this creation week, showing and proving that there's 365 days every single year. We need something to do with that one day. It becomes non-existent, void, Genesis 1:2, Job's birthday, all of these allusions. And also in the Dead Sea Scrolls, a day is added after the 52nd Sabbath, which is of the monthly count. So we have all of these absolute markers and scriptures that lines up to this day. And then we keep the creation week because why? When the sun, the moon, and stars on day 4 happens, we don't count, oh, this is day 4, so we're just going to do 4, 5. No, it becomes day 1 of the year because that's when the sun, the moon, and stars were created. And then the 4th day of the year is your first Sabbath. And how do I know that? I'll show you. Share video. Sometimes it gets a little blurry, so just tell me.
Hold on,
See,
let me stop sharing real quick.
okay.
I love this visual.
Yeah, this is really helpful, and I wish we did this right from jump because we need to be able to see that there's 2 cycles because day 0 is so critically important to this creation week. This is when equal day, equal night comes.
Hey, turn your phone sideways because it looks blurry.
It's really blurry. Yeah, we can't make it out at all.
Hold on.
There, that'll work. Yeah.
Okay. So we have day 0. This is the 365 days that we experience every single year. This is equal day, equal night in the land that we are exiled from. St. Patrick's Day marks every first day of creation week for some reason. I don't know why. I think they're mocking. And then we have day 4 of the creation week. That's when our second sign happens, when it is the straight line shadow. And that, I hope this is the right one. Oh no, I don't think I have the right. So this turns into day 1. And here, I'm going to show you. Dang. Okay.
Good.
Perfect.
This comes in as day 1. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th day is the Sabbath, holding to the creation week. And how do I know this? Because if we keep tracking the Sabbath here, and so the 11th will be a Sabbath, and that is in 4Q3240. All the Sabbaths are tracked. And then here's Passover on the 14th. Oh, well, if you look at creation week, what day of creation week? It's on the right day. It's on the 3rd day of the week, not a Tuesday. Remember? Get that out of your head. It's on the 3rd day of the week, the 14th. And that's how his cycle is kept. Because this cycle is going to go 1 through 7 throughout time. This one is going to go 30.
It's blurry again, Katrina. Sorry to interrupt. It's blurry.
Nope, that's okay. I'll just fix it. I don't know why it.
Just when you pan to the left. Yeah.
This day, so this cycle is going to be 1 through 7, 1 through 7, 1 through 7 from all the rest of the 364 days. And then boom, you get the 365th day. That turns into a void. That turns into 0. 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's how it's kept. And then the Enoch cycle, the monthly cycle, we're doing, 30, 30, 31. So when we see here for this Enoch cycle, here is 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. The 28th day of the last month.
Again. Sorry.
That's okay. Again. I'll fix. I don't know why that does that. Okay. The 28th day of this cycle is the 52nd Sabbath. Notice here, it's keeping in line with creation week. It becomes the 52nd Sabbath. And then it says in the Dead Sea Scrolls, after the 52nd Sabbath, a day is added. That's our 0 count. So do you see how we have the 2 cycles and they fit together? They work in harmony, and see we have the continuation of the count. 28, 0. Skip that day. 29, 30, 31. There's our intercalary day.
Blurry again.
And then boom.
Sweetie. It's blurry again.
Okay. Intercalary day, and then boom, we have day 1. And that's how it's all kept. That's how we have this 365-day year. And that's how this 0 day fits into it, keeping a 364-day only count. We're starting at 0. Boom, it goes.
Okay. Thank you for explaining.
Does that help?
It does. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and with Katrina,
praise Yah.
Yeah, and to add to Katrina, again, think of a clock, right? And all the wheels and cogs that are in that clock to make it run, right? And that's basically a description of how time is kept. You don't have just one wheel, you have a couple others. And you can't have one without the other.
Right.
I don't know
yeah,
if that
your
helps.
minute, your second hand and your minute hand. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to have, yeah, it's not just one, right? Because you have, you have two or three witnesses, right? You can't just have one. You have to have things that witness to each other. And
Right.
and that's what this timekeeping, it really does blow everything that we've ever been taught about time out of the water. And it's, we've never been taught this before. So our brains hurt trying to understand it. But once we start trying to piece it together, it really does form a bigger picture.
And
Right.
Marissa puts together a beautiful explanation along with the visual, with the wheel within a wheel, talking
That's
about
good.
those two separate counts.
Yes.
Yeah, do this picture, Katrina. This one's great. I love this one.
Yeah. So when we have, it's just like this other one. We have day 0,
It's
the division
blurry.
of the year.
It's blurry.
To figure out how to not get it to be blurry. Okay. So see this menorah, right? We have day 0 and we have the start of the menorah. Day 1, day 2, day 3. Boom. Straight line shadow of the menorah. And this is how we find our 7th day is. And so sorry, I'm going to move this. When last
Yeah, it's
year,
blurry again.
okay. So last year, the straight line shadow came in on a Wednesday. So we were going to have a Saturday Shabbat. This year, our straight line shadow day came in on a Thursday. So we keep the menorah method, and Sunday is going to be Shabbat. Same thing for next year. When it comes in on Friday, Monday is going to be the Shabbat. I don't have my longer thing. But yeah, so we're keeping this menorah method. Now people want to,
It's blurry.
okay.
Katrina, when you do a lot of movement is when it becomes blurry. So the less movement you do,
Okay. So then now the Vidok Way wants to take this sun sign straight line shadow and move it to wherever they want to make sure that they get that Wednesday. So that they're kind of doing it the opposite. We can't, we can't move that. This is our sign. This is the day when the temple would literally light up. And and shows Yah's esteem. So we don't want to move that day. We want to keep it as day 4 every single year. So when that straight line comes in, 3 days later is your first Shabbat. That first Shabbat is going to be on, it's going to be the 4th of the month. Because it starts a whole new cycle.
And I think this is a great moment to ask ourselves, like, what is our anchor for the calendar? Is our anchor that Gregorian Wednesday, or is our anchor the great sign of the sun to begin our month that sets our Sabbaths of days? So if you're trying to move the sun sign, you really can't do that. You literally cannot do that because Yah sets that sign. And so we know that when we count 3 days later, it's Shabbat. And we keep the Sabbath according to his sign that he gives us.
Right, because you'll see a lot of people just want to take the one sign, like they won't acknowledge a straight line shadow. They completely disregard it. They don't see the connection. They don't see the importance of it. So they're wanting to take that equal day and equal night, and they want to do it in the land of Israel. They want to use that equal day, which is great, but they're starting their year the next day. And then, so day 1 of creation becomes day 1 of the year, and you go 364. So they're seeing one cycle. They're seeing the Jubilee cycle, right?
Yeah, they're wanting to put the two together instead of realizing that there's a separation. There's two different witnesses.
Exactly, because on the straight line shadow day, you will never find equal day, equal night. ever, anywhere. So they're merging these two phenomenons. They're trying to call equal day, equal night, the straight line shadow, and vice versa. They're trying to like merge them so that it makes sense to them, where Yah has 2 cycles. And we have all the verses that prove these 2 cycles as well.
Hey, Katrina?
Yeah.
I want to say something. If anybody here, which most here probably do believe that the tabernacle is round. If you look at that and you see the top of it and how it's structured, it's got the tav on the top. So when you're speaking of the sun doing a direct shadow through the doorway of the eastern doorway into the tabernacle, at noontime, it will be on the very top, coming through the top hole, shining down, shining the tav on the floor, which is a sign.
Hallelujah.
Wow. That's the equal day, equal night?
No, that would be your 4th day.
That would be the 4th day. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, your straight line shadow.
Wow,
Yep.
that's incredible.
So it comes through the front of the eastern gate, and then when the sun shines down through the top, you've got the tav there, but if you look at the structure of it, you've got the one bar that goes all the way over the top of it, between the middle of the tav, which is called the etzem, which is the backbone of the sign.
Incredible.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Thank you. That's very cool.
That's a good shout, Lee. Thank you. This is for Carmen, really. So there's 8 days between the last Sabbath and the next Sabbath. Now, we spoke earlier on about Yahusha obviously being around before the first day. And when we talk about consecration, the high priest would be consecrated on, let's call it day 0, or the first day of the 8 days. He'll be consecrated. Then he needs to stay within the tabernacle for 7 days. And then after that, the sacrifices could then be performed. What does that mean? For me, it means that Yeshua, who was with God at the beginning, he was anointed before creation. And after his anointing, day 0, there were then 7 days which he dwelt within the tabernacle of heaven to receive his future kingdom after the first day of the Sabbath, if that makes any sense. Maybe it doesn't make any sense. Maybe I'm talking.
Would that be like Enoch on the 365th day, as in 0, and he was taken on the 365th day? He was consecrated also.
Wow, interesting.
Yes, the correlation is incredible.
Okay.
There's 8 days to consecration. There's 8 days to circumcision. There's 8 days to come out of leprosy and all those things. 8 days is a really important biblical sign for cleanliness and consecration. So so for the year to end on a Sabbath, and then there to be 8 days before the next start of the year, I think that's an important additional sort of input to understand why that 0 day is so important.
Yeah, and if you could see this, tell me when you can't. This is how all the cycles merge together, and this is the priestly consecration here at the bottom. I don't know if you could see the menorah. I'm going to have to redo this, but here's where it looks like the priestly courses start here on day 0, and it goes to 7, and then they're ready on the 8th day, which is the first Sabbath.
Hey, Katrina, I'm gonna do that presentation like with the three
Oh, great.
topics, and I'll talk about this. I think it would be good if Jeremy just kept going through where he was at, though, because I think we're jumping ahead a little too much, like hitting the punchline a little
Yeah,
I
too
that's
quick.
fine.
agree.
So,
I definitely agree.
Yeah, thank you for answering my questions, everybody. I appreciate it.
yeah.
No
Jeremy, read
problem,
that Dead
sister.
Sea Scroll fragment.
Yeah, I was just about to. Yeah, praise Yah. One moment, let me just get it up on my screen here. Yeah, thank you everybody for helping to answer. Awesome job. All right, so where were okay, so 4Q324D, and we do have the PDF of this uh, in our other group as well. So real quick, let me get the link. All right, so there's the link to our other group, and it's basically got all of our PDFs, sources, the links to the sources, all of our fellowship videos, even the ones that haven't made it to YouTube for various reasons, ones that they don't like. But yeah, that's going to have everything we're talking about here, and probably even more. You know, there's a lot of people have shared a lot of great information in there that are part of our fellowship here. So, you know, if you're not in that group yet, please go check it out. And, you know, all the things are divided into different tabs. So it makes it easier to kind of filter through things. Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Yeah, no worries, Brandon. Oh, Jackson Snyder. Yeah, we were supposed to have, actually, yes, that's our, we were supposed to have our conversation with Jackson tonight.
Oh my goodness. I forgot.
Yeah, thanks for reminding.
Today's the 6th.
But
Yeah.
yeah, he
I was
never
like,
sent the email though.
I wonder who he's having on.
What time? What time is it going to be?
9 Eastern.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so it'll
and
be 8 for me and 2 hours behind us for the West Coast.
yeah. So,
Well, we need to probably end early to maybe even go over what we're even going to talk about.
yeah. So, yeah, we'll go over that after
Okay.
all of this. So,
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good idea.
I want to make sure to cover
We
everything
got
here.
plenty of time, guys. Plenty of time.
Yeah.
Maybe even a song or two, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, Marissa, we would love to hear some of your music.
All right.
So beautiful.
All right. We'll put that on the shelf. Go ahead, Jeremy. Fire at
All
us.
right. So, what we have here is 4Q324D. It's a scroll found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's a later find. It was discovered in 2017, I believe. Anyway, the PDF is going to be in that group I linked, and you can also find it online. You can just type in 4Q324D, and a PDF should come up. But this is going to be column 5, verses 9 through 10, and then column 6, verse 1 as well. So on the 28th of the 12th month, this is speaking about, and it is the Sabbath. So the 28th day of the 12th month is the 7th day of the week, Sabbath day. And then continuing afterwards, it starts saying on, but then vacate or vacat comes up. This is going to signify a large amount of missing text in the scroll. So either that part of the scroll was missing, or the ink had worn off, whatever various reasons, this text is just missing here. It's no longer there. So it's a large amount. It's not just a word or two. Like these 3 dots, it'll show like maybe a word or two is missing. When we're speaking about, or see vacate or blank, it's called in some other translations. This is going to refer to a large amount of missing text, like a sentence or more. So after this missing text, it will continue on, and then weekday 2, and it falls the 30th day of the month. And then weekday 3 is additional, meaning this is that. So on the 3rd day of the week is that 12th month, that seasonal intercalated day, day 31, just before the spring Tekufa, day 1, month 1, day 4 of the week. So it's important to notice, because in this scroll, only special days are recorded. So normally, there would be no text that would exist in this location unless it's an important date. So reading through the scroll, like normal days, like if it's day 5 or 6 and there's nothing going on it, it's not going to mention it. It's not going to say day 6, nothing, day 7, Sabbath. So if it was a day that nothing happened on, there should be nothing there, is what I'm trying to explain here. So it is an important date that is found in this missing text. So this is the exact location the yearly divider day falls on, after the last Sabbath of the year, which is the 28th of the 12th. What other large amount of text would be missing if it was just a normal day? So another interesting find is in 4Q394, the specific scroll number in 4QMMT, we're going to find this. So speaking about that same 28th of that 12th month, is a Sabbath in it. Then we see after the Sabbath, then a missing word here, blank, is added. And then the year is complete in 360 blank days. Then vacate is what we will see, or remainder of the line is blank. So this is from Florentino Garcia Martinez edition. And we have the link to that, of course, in our other group. And if you're watching from YouTube, I'll have the link in the description as well for this specific version. So this fragment shows some of what is missing in 4Q324D, where vacate is located in column 5, verses 9 through 10, specifically verse 10. So Garcia Martinez version shows what is on the original fragments with no added text. In other words, no author's insertions. It's just what it says on the scroll itself. So when we put the two fragments together, meaning 4Q324D, column 5, verse 10, and 4Q394, the missing text from where vacate is, this is what we're going to see. So I put brackets here to show where 394 is inserted instead of using vacate. So on the 28th in it is the Sabbath. And after the Sabbath, the day is added, and the year is complete in 364 days. And then weekday 2 in it falls the 30th day of the month. Weekday 3 is additional, that spring intercalated day, the 31st day of the 12th month. So this is going to show us not only the missing text there, but the day that is added after the Sabbath, day 0, the divider day, after the last Sabbath of the year, dividing the 52 weeks of 7 days each year. 52 weeks of 7 days is a 364-day count. So if we experience 365 days of the solar cycle, which we see in Enoch as well, how do we reconcile that? Well, it's simple. We begin our counting at nothing like Yahuah did. Genesis 1 through 2. In other words, we start at 0. So this is going to be 4Q324D, column 5, just to show you. So this is a screenshot I took of the PDF itself, just to show you. It's speaking about the 12th month. And then here on verse 10, well, we got to start halfway through 9 here. So the 21st is a Sabbath, meaning the 21st of the 12th month, Sabbath. Then the 28th of the 12th month is a Sabbath. And then on, here's that vacate. Oops. Forgot it's not the PDF. And then after vacate, the missing text, it continues on. Weekday 2, in it falls. And we go to column 6. Verse 1, the 30th day of the month. And then weekday 3 is additional. So here's 4Q394, a screenshot I took of the, well, it's a PDF that's online. There's also a link to this in the group as well. But we see this is 4Q394. I only have 4Q394 in here, but it shows 4Q394 to 4Q399 in the whole thing. But we see verse 1 starts out blank, but then a Sabbath in it. Then after that Sabbath, blank is added, and the year is complete in 360 blank days. So, if you guys didn't know, so these brackets here are just an author's insertion of what they think might fit in there, or it was taken from another scroll and inserted in there. But they know this word is Sabbath because after the what Sabbath, it says it right here, it's a day is added or is added. This is going to be from Florentino Garcia Martinez book itself, which is the one we read through for our reading, and is going to be linked again both in our other fellowship group and on YouTube in the description as well. So 4Q394, which is in 4QMMT, it's actually not in the calendar scrolls. So fragment 1, column 1. So we see blank, a Sabbath in it. Then after the Sabbath, so we see this bracket here and this bracket here. This is showing everything in between this text is added by the author. It's taken from what they think might fit from another scroll or another area of the same scroll that would say something similar. They take this out and they just insert it in there. So when it says after the Sabbath, the first and the second and the third day is added, that's all author's insertion. And then it continues to go on. So the brackets, again, they mean the author's insertions to try to make sense of the missing text. So the first image is without the author's insertions. So this one right above here, this is going to be without the insertions. Of course, they have the brackets just to show, hey, look, that's the Sabbath. And then this one is with the insertions because they try to make it make sense. So what I basically just explained is 4Q394, what we find is the missing text in 4Q394, column 5, verse 10, where the missing text, or vakat, vacate, however you want to pronounce it, is located. So it's like a puzzle, and we found that missing piece of the puzzle. So this is going to line up exactly with what we just read in Jubilees as well, the 52 weeks of 7 days each year. And so 4Q320, this is the one from the Dead Sea Scrolls that everybody likes to tell us, oh, look, this is about the full moon.
Oh, wait. Before you get into that, does anyone have any questions on that specific thing, like the scrolls? Like, do you guys see how it all merges together and how it's saying, like, after that 50-second Sabbath, a day is added?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. Awesome.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, this is the one, people like to use to say, oh, look, this is about the full moon, because, Giza Vermes inserts full moon here.
Now, specifically, we're talking about the Gospel Worth Dying For Zadok calendar. They want to use these authors' insertations instead of what the scrolls actually say. So as Jeremy will explain here, this is exactly what they're doing. And when they do this, they're picking a random year out of nowhere and then using this random year and saying that, just building a calendar off of that. And we're going to show how they're erring in doing so.
Yeah, precisely. And I do go into more detail in my article or write-up about this as well. But this is kind of a key point breakdown of the same thing. Excuse me. So 4Q320, to display itself, so it's missing a few words here at the beginning, and then to display itself from the east, and shine in the center of the sky at the base of the vault from evening to morning, on the 4th day of the week, the sons of Gamul, in the 1st month of the 1st year. So this is the Mishmarot, or the priestly cycles that we find. And that's kind of what Ken was explaining there a little bit, and Marissa will also, go into a bit. But it's this priestly cycle that we find in Chronicles, and it was made by King David, so the priests can have a rest from doing all the priestly duties every single day. Because if you think about it, they had to slaughter the animals for themselves, do the sacrifices. Then they had to slaughter the animals for every person in Israel, do those sacrifices. Then they had to do that every single day. Then on the Sabbath, even more so. So really, every single day, the priests had to do their duties, even on Sabbaths and high festivals, because if they didn't, there would be no atonement, and they couldn't do it. So they had to do their service on these days of rest. So there was basically no rest for them. So these priestly courses, or mishmarot, were created by King David to kind of give the priests, a rest break.
And like the individual families being consecrated too, because you can't fit all of those priests. I mean, there were hundreds of priests. So
yeah, that as well, the consecration, and that's a really amazing subject too.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Just throw that detail in. But go ahead.
Yeah. So basically in what is it, Giza Vermes edition, he says somewhere inserted in here it says there's a full moon, and I have it here later on down, a screenshot taken from it, but Giza Vermes inserts full moon here that is displaying itself in the center of the sky from evening to morning. Well, the problem with that is the moon is not always out from evening to morning, because 10 days out of each of its months, or each month, it's out during the daytime. So it's not always out evening to morning. So that it cannot be the moon, because that would not be a proper witness or a steady witness. But what does rise in the east and shines in the center of the sky in the spring? Actually, Jubilees tells us it's going to be the stars. And that's what Marissa is going to get into a lot as well, because she found these witnesses in the stars. So Jubilees 12:16. So in the 6th week of the 5th year, Abraham sat up throughout the night, and on the head of the 7th month. So the word here used is HaChodesh in Jubilees. It's the same word in scriptures for, head of the month that we see. The same HaChodesh mistranslated 19 times as new moon. They also mistranslate it to new moon here in Jubilees as well. So it's not the new moon of the 7th month. It's the head of the 7th month. That Noah day that we read about in Jubilees chapter 6, which we'll go into a little bit as well. The 4 ordained Noah days that were festivals of remembrance. These are the festivals they leave out because they don't fit their new moon observance days. So they took them out of scripture. But we see them here in Jubilees. But anyway, let me continue. So on the head of the 7th month, to observe the stars from the evening to the morning. So that same wording, observing the stars from the evening to the morning. Same verbiage, everything. This is also going to go along with the 4 leaders of the thousands that we see in the book of Enoch that lead these, heads of the seasons. So he was observing these heads of the seasons of the stars, not only to see and confirm, hey, it's ahead of the 7th month, but also in order to see what would be the character of the year with regard to the rains. And he was alone as he sat and observed. So what does this mean here? Well, actually, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, they call it the Zodiac Scroll a lot of times. And that's just to throw people off and say, oh, look, they're following zodiac signs. No. That's not what it's about at all. It's actually called astrological physiognomies, meaning it's describing what Abraham is doing here. So the stars are going to show us, hey, is this, season coming up? Is it going to be rainy? Is it going to be dry? Things like that. It's actually found here in 4Q186 is the scroll number, or the Zodiac Scroll as it's commonly known. You can find it there as well. And another thing is Yarach, which is the Hebrew word for moon. It is not found once in the DSS, Dead Sea Scrolls, calendar scrolls. So 4Q324D, column 1, the beginning of the first month on day 4, Tekufa. So this is going to show us in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Tekufa, or equinox as we know it today, is marking day 4 of creation week, as per the sons of Zadok themselves. So as we see here in 4Q324D, 4QMMT, and the sundial in Qumran, the sign in the heavens is when the equinox/Tekufa occurs in the springtime, the straight line method. So again, here's 4Q324D, column 1, and the beginning of the first month on weekday 4, Tekufa. And then on the 4th in it is the Sabbath. And you can see this for all 4 seasons. The Tekufa is marking day 4. So Tekufas, we're going to show, are the equinoxes and solstices as we refer to them in modern day terms. But before we get to that, we're going to show the many verses that will allude to day 4 and the equinox Tekufa being the sign from Yahuah to begin the counting of months. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Richard. Yeah. So from 4Q319, 4Q320, 4Q321, those are the priestly course scrolls. And we'll get into that a bit. So we don't find Yarach, we find the word Duke or Duca. And we're going to get into that a little bit more as well. So basically, these are going to be all the verses we see in just the, quote unquote, 66 book canon that are alluding to this day 4 in the equinox. We're not going to find any solid proof because they removed these proofs out of the book. So Exodus 27:13, to the east side of the courtyard towards the sunrise, because the sunrise is in the east. Same thing here in Exodus 38:13, the east side towards the sunrise. So this is talking about the temple gate towards the east, which is very important. Exodus 40:1-2, and Yahuah spoke to Moshe, saying, on the first day of the first month, you are to raise up the dwelling place of the tent of meeting. So the first day of the first month. And again, we're going to see the difference between months and years as well. So this is going to be the wheel within the wheel, or the 2 cycles Katrina was kind of showing earlier on her visual. We have 2 Chronicles 29, verses 3 and verse 17. So in the first year of his reign, in the first month, he opened the doors of the house of Yahuah and repaired them. In verse 17, and they began to set apart on the first day of the first month, and on which is interesting, the 8th day of the month, they came to the porch of Yahuah. And they set apart the house of Yahuah in 8 days. And on the 16th day of the first month, they had finished. So we can see sets of 8 here, which will equal 16. Apologies. And then 1 Samuel 25, which actually all of 1 Samuel here, I have a whole write-up about it. I have not put it in here yet, but I was planning on doing that. But 1 Samuel 20 is going to prove out the Zadok calendar. So this is about David and Jonathan. And again, we're going to see, and David said to Jehonathan, see, tomorrow is the head of the month. Again, this is the word HaChodesh, mistranslated as new moon. Does not mean new moon, it means the head of the month. And we'll get into a little bit more of that here as well. And I ought to sit with the sovereign to eat, but let me go, and I shall hide in the field until the 3rd day at evening. So the head of the month, day 4 of the week, 3 days later is the 7th day Sabbath. It's really amazing. And then it continues on to just prove out more and more of the Zadok calendar in 1 Samuel 25. And then we have Exodus 12, 1-2. Wait, I think I already read this. Oh, no, I haven't. Sorry. And Yahuah spoke to Moshe and Aaron in the land of Mitzrayim, saying, this month is the beginning of months for you, and it is the first month of the year for you. So we can see beginning of months
in the year. So there's a distinction between months and years. And this is going to be important to kind of remember here in just a moment. And then we have Job 38, 4 through 5. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding. Who appointed its measurements, if you know? Or who stretched the line upon it? Right there, allusion to the straight line beam of light or straight line shadow. James 1, 16 through 17. So do not go astray, my beloved brothers. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no change or turning shadow. Because we track the shadow, and if it changes or turns or shifts, as some translations say, that's going to be a different day than these tekufas or the equinox. So no turning shadow on the equinox, the tekufa, using a stick and marking the shadow throughout the day. The sun's shadow will cast a straight line during that day, meaning the stick that you place at the end of the shadow, at the end of the day, the row of rocks or whatever you use to mark the end is going to be exactly straight. On other days, you're going to see a curve, and it's going to start at the ends and curve more and more and more until you get to the solstices where it'll be at its maximum curve. And that's actually where you can mark at solar noon the solstices as well. So the fourth command is keep the Sabbath. The fourth day of creation is when the luminaries were created. The fourth gate, as mentioned in Enoch, is Gadol Dalet in Hebrew, which is the fourth letter of the alphabet, and it means the door or passageway. Then the fourth menorah branch is the longest straight branch. 3 branches later, the seventh branch, Shabbat. So the word tekufa can be found in our Bibles today as well, and it means the equinoxes and solstices, or the turning of the year and its seasons. The tekufa is a celestial event designed by Yahuah as a sign for determining time, not a man-made Gregorian week. There are 4 tekufas each year: the vernal and autumn equinoxes, and the summer and winter solstices. The spring equinox determines day 4 of creation week, when the monthly cycle restarts for the year. So that's what we had just read in those verses as well. The monthly cycle of 12 months begins on day 4 of creation week, which 12 months of 30 days plus the 4 intercalary days that we see in Enoch, it also equals 364. So we're going to find Tekufa, which is Strong's number H8622. And it means the circuit, like the circuit of the sun, a cycle of the sun, the season, or revolution. And we have it in, Babylonian Hebrew here, but it's called the Tekupa. And then, of course, the definition again, and it means a revolution, a course, or lapse. And then this is going to be from the, Jewish Encyclopedia here. So there's going to be 4 tekufas each year that they themselves even admit to. Now, I won't add these Babylonian names to them, so I'll just read out the numbers. So the first tekufa is the vernal equinox. Then we have the second tekufa, which would be the summer solstice. The third tekufa is the autumnal equinox. And then the fourth tekufa is the winter solstice. Again, these are their dates that they put on there. We know that the spring Tekufa is always starting on March 20th. And it's been tracked for decades, not only by, our dear sister Libby, who is our elder, and we also have Alan Pizarak and Aaron, why am I not thinking of her last name? Aaron Ryan. They have all been tracking it for at least a decade, and they've always caught it on March 20th of the Gregorian calendar, which actually lines up to, so if you go to, for example, time and date, it's going to give you a different date. If you go to a different site, it's going to give you a different date from that. The only really true site that is going to be the most accurate is actually the naval tracking site. And it backs up what Aaron Ryan and Alan Pizarak have also confirmed, that it's always on March 20th, the spring equinox happens. So they put all these other dates online to confuse everybody, so you won't figure this stuff out. They just make it really hard. Yeah, Psalm 19. Yeah, exactly. I'm about to read that right now. So yeah, Psalm 19, verses 1 through 6. So the Shamayim, or the heavens, are proclaiming the esteem of El, and the firmament is declaring the work of his hand, or creation week is the work of his hands. All of creation is, but this is showing creation week. And from day to day it pours forth speech, and night to night reveals the knowledge, meaning day and night are separated, beginning in the morning. There is no speech, and there are words. Their voice is not heard, meaning the luminaries are silent witnesses. Like they don't speak, but we are seeing what they are showing us. Their line has gone out through all the earth, that straight line shadow that all the earth can see on the spring Tekufa. And their words to the end of the world. In them he put up a tent for the sun, and it's like a bridegroom coming out of its room. The spring equinox Tekufa, which is marking day 4 of the week. And it rejoices like a strong man to run the path, the 364-day count. And its rising is from one end of the Shamayim, and its circuit to the other end, speaking about these solstices and equinoxes, and naught is hidden from its heat. So the sun, moon, and stars are speaking, but don't have a voice. They are showing us the yearly markers and seasonal dividers. So this is going to be that narrow gate. And this is going to be what we were describing on that spring Tekufa. So in the tabernacle and the temple, and you know what Lee said as well, the round tabernacle and the roundness, it would basically do the same thing. And actually, Lee, don't you have one of those? Are you still in chat, actually? Don't you have one of the actual tabernacles, the mini display one?
I do. Which one do you need?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna see if you could do some kind of experiment like this as well.
Yeah, I do. I do have the kit that has the open front that we put together here on Sukkot last year. I could put it outside and see what it does. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, or even use like a really bright flashlight and try to have it like lined up, due east. Well, basically just this experiment here, just to show it, lighting up the Holy of Holies right there in the center.
Yes, and at noon the sun's going to be at its highest point, so it's going to come to the top.
Yeah, exactly. That's really amazing too.
But yeah, I could sure do that. And if you look on the inside of it, when you structure one of these kits, that inside it's got a round cylinder, which is the Holy of Holies.
Wow.
or should I say, the most holy place.
Yeah, exactly. No, wow, that's
Yep.
definitely want to get into that
and
more.
it shines right in that most holy place, that sign.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a circle. Like you got the Levite priest, and then you've got the high priest right in the center sphere or cylinder circle in the middle of the tabernacle. He's in there. The priests are outside of there, and then it just goes further out to the circles, to the tribes, and so on, and then the outer court. So.
Yeah, awesome. No, I was just thinking, you can do that on because the fall equinox is coming up soon. So yeah, you can just face that entrance due east and see if it does the same with the sun.
Yeah, I don't know if they'd do it in the fall. I would think more so in the spring.
Yeah.
But I have not taken the project kit and done that. But I could sure film it.
That'd be awesome if you could
see what it does, and open one of the flaps there to see what kind of projection it's doing right there in the center of that cylinder there, and see if it spreads out anywhere else other than the cylinder. That'd be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So we could have a actual real life experiment.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That'd be great. Praise Yah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this is what actually Ezekiel 43, really all of Ezekiel 43 is going to describe. But, for these main verses we have here, again, the gate facing east and the esteem of Elohim of Israel came from the way of the east. And then the earth shone from his esteem, just like this, that beam of bright sunlight coming in and the earth shining from it. It's that esteem of Yahuah. And then coming down even more, and the esteem of Yahuah came into the house by way of the gate facing east. And the Ruach took me up and brought me into the inner courtyard, and see, the esteem of Yahuah filled the house. So this is a perfect explanation of the picture above, of the Tekufa lighting up the Holy of Holies in the temple, marking day 4 of creation week. So the priest would know exactly what they're looking for as the sun rose due east, right there in the morning. Boom. Yep, this is day 4. And then, yeah, and the round one, it has that hole in the center, right there, solar noon, it would shine in, confirming it again. And so here we're going to get more into Enoch. And we're going to show here that Enoch never once says that the moon brings in years. And he never once says that the moon is for months. But what he does show is that the sun and the stars determine our year. And, Marissa, when we get into it, she's basically found the witness of what the moon is for and what it's used for. We see it's more for agricultural purposes, and it's just a witness. It's not a determining factor. And she could probably explain that more, but
can I ask
here in oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I've just been sitting in the background listening, and I'm one of probably the one and the only person coming from the fully renewed moon calendar, whatever observance. So I'm wrapping my head around this, but help me understand when Scripture, and I know it's been mistranslated in so many ways, but when Scripture says, in the way that it refers to our numbering of our days and our months and that type of stuff, when it says the new in the new moon, the first or the 5th day of the new moon, I always assumed that meant the next month or the month, like referring to it as a month. And that's kind of how it referred. Can you help me understand when they say new moon, what are they saying?
Renewal of a month.
Yeah, so it's not, it doesn't actually, oh, go ahead. Oh, no. So the word there is chodesh, or ha-chodesh in this
Correct.
instance. And actually, let me pull up my article here.
Is it just mean month?
Yeah, it just means month. It doesn't
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's
Head of
mistranslated
the
into
month.
new moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when it counts, it just means month is what I always understood that meaning month. Okay, so month. Thank you. That's all I needed.
Yeah. No worries. Thank you. And yeah, no, a lot of people get confused because they're like, well, it says new moon in scriptures. Well, if you go to the etymology of the word, we see that chodesh has nothing to do with anything in the Maseroth. Yarach does, however. And we never see, so the word Yarach is the Hebrew word for moon. The Hebrew word for new would be Cha. So that's where actually Chodesh comes from. That's its source because it's the renewal of the 30-day months. Whereas if it was actually the word new moon, we would see Ha Yarach in there. Because literally that would mean new moon in Hebrew. But we don't ever see that. We do see Ha Hodesh, which means new month or head of months as well. Because when we find Ha Hodesh in the Strongs, it's used 19 times in that specific spelling, and all 19 times they mistranslate it to new moon. And all of those 19 times is actually referring to one of these 4 seasonal heads of the months. So this is why they had to remove these 4 Noah days out of scripture and hide them, because it's not going to fit their new moon observances every month when there's only 4 of them that we're supposed to do for each season. That's kind of what we're going to get into here in just a moment as well. But yeah, here in Enoch, so I get it. There's a lot of people, they read Enoch 73 and they're like, look, it says, the moon's for months here. Well, no, that's not what it's saying there, actually. It's actually saying these are the lunations of the moon. And he describes them because they do happen. But he never once says this is going to determine the months of the year. He's just describing the moon phases because they do happen. And then he continues on and says, well, it's going to fall, 10 days too short, and it also runs its own path. What we are going to see all throughout Enoch is the sun and the stars bringing in all the years. And so Enoch 74:12, so this is going to be one where people were like, oh, well, the Ethiopic, it says moon here, not sun and stars. Or we're going to prove that that's a mistranslation. So it's the sun and the stars that bring in all the years exactly, so that they what? The sun and the stars do not advance or delay their position by a single day unto everlasting, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. So we have Wisdom of Solomon that's going to back this up as well, which chapter 7, verses 17 through 19. And it says, it is he who gave me true knowledge of the forces of nature, what the world is made of, and how the elements behave, how the calendar is determined by the movements of the sun, and the changing seasons, and the constellations, or the stars, and the cycles of the years. So here in Enoch 74, we're going to see the sun and the stars bring in the years. The moon is not mentioned in this verse at all, even though some do mistranslate it into there. So this is also supported by Wisdom of Solomon 7:17 through 19, and even more that we're going to get into. But the sun and the stars are what determines the calendar. This is more evidence of the author's false insertions of the moon phases in the Mishmarot found in the Dead Sea Scrolls that we talked about earlier in bringing in the years. And the verses all around Enoch 74:12, they all state that the moon will be off 10 days every year, and that the moon only has 354 days in a year. So this is proving the translations that falsely insert the moon there are in error. Why? Because how can the moon bring in a 364-day year when it only has 354? And not to mention the plural they do not advance or delay. So that they do not advance or delay, who is they? The sun and the stars. So guess what? When they take out sun and stars and insert moon, the plural they is still there for the singular word moon. That's a huge clue. So the argument of people saying, oh, well, it says the moon and the stars there, not sun and star, or sorry, it says the moon there, not sun and stars. Well, that's actually very inaccurate and incorrect. And we can just tell by reading the context of the entire chapter and just this one clue, they, plural for singular moon. So Enoch 82, this is going to be verses 4 through 7. So Baruch are the righteous. Baruch are all those who walk in the way of righteousness and do not sin as the sinners. In the reckoning of all their days in which the sun traverses the Shamayim, entering into and departing from the portals for 30 days, with the heads of the thousands of the order of the stars. So these are those 4 heads of the thousands that I spoke about earlier. And then together with the 4 which are intercalated, which divide the 4 portions of the year, meaning the 4 seasons of the year, which lead them and enter with them 4 days. Owing to them, men shall be at fault, and not reckon them in the whole reckoning of the year, which they should be. But also men shall be at fault, and not recognize them accurately. Why? Because when Enoch is describing when they're not reckoned in the reckoning of the year, that's how we get our 360-day count that we find in Daniel and Revelation. And we find that day 360 in the solar cycle falls on that last Sabbath of the year, the 28th of the 12th month. And we'll get into that more here in a bit as well, but just kind of wanted to point that out. So, for they belong to the reckoning of the year and are truly recorded forever. So forever, not meaning, they're going to go out of sync and we can't trust them, or Satan's going to, hide them in a cloud or whatever he does, make a fake sun. No. So that's the thing as well. So Satan, he only has dominion over the earthly things. The luminaries are heavenly things. He has no dominion over them. He can't control them. He can't do anything to them. So he can have men create as many fake suns as they like. He can't do anything about the real one that's going to be there forever. And then one in the first portal, one in the third, one in the fourth, one in the sixth. And the year is completed in 364 days. And the account thereof is accurate. The account of what? The sun and the stars, because that's what he's speaking about here. And the recorded reckoning thereof exact for lights and months and festivals and years and days. So right here, he just said the sun and the stars are for months, festivals, years, and days. That's pretty similar to what we just read in Jubilees 2:9. The sun is for months, festivals, years, and days. The stars are the witness to that as well. And that's what Marissa will get into as well. So we also have Enoch 75, 1 through 2. And the leaders of the heads of the thousands, the stars, who are placed over the whole creation and over all the stars, have also to do with the 4 intercalary days, being inseparable from their office, according to the reckoning of the year, so meaning spring, summer, fall, and winter. And these render service on the 4 days which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year, and owing to them men go astray therein. For those lights truly render service on the world stations, one in the first portal, one in the third portal of the Shamayim, one in the fourth portal, and one in the sixth portal. And the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations. So it's kind of a clue here, separate 364 stations, or 364 days. But we also see here, so when he's talking about the third portal, it says of the Shamayim, of the heavens, but it doesn't say that to any of these other ones. And we'll get into that here in a moment as well, because we see that there's a portal in the heavens that the sun goes and shines, which is marking the divider day of the year. So Job 9:7-10. So who commands the sun? And it does not rise. And he seals up the stars, stretching out the Shamayim by himself, and treading upon the waves of the sea. Who made Ash, or Arcturus, Cassiel, or Orion, and Chema, or Pleiades? And the rooms of the south. Who performs great and unsearchable deeds, and innumerable wonders? Then Job 38:31-33. So do you bind the bands of Chema, Pleiades, or loosen the cords or belt of Orion? Do you bring out the constellations or the stars in their season, meaning those 4 seasonal leaders that we just read about? Or do you lead the bear, Ursa Major, with its sons? And these are a lot of important star signs that Marissa has also tracked and found they line up with this exact method. So, do you know the laws of the Shamayim, or do you apply their rule over the earth? So, are we applying the rules, the Torah of these luminaries that Yahuah gave them to do? Are we applying their rule to our calendar? There's not many who do, unfortunately. They either want to stick with a Gregorian, never-ending 7-day cycle of weeks, or they want to go, by different moon phases every month, and really only using the moon. The sun and the stars are just kind of in the background. So the calendar is determined by the movement of the sun and the stars, as we can see all throughout scriptures. We didn't read any moon in any of these verses about bringing in the years. No moon. Because it's a witness, not a determining factor. So it's determined by the sun and the stars, as we see all throughout the scriptures. And they determine the years and when they begin and end. We can't trust Rome or the synagogue of Hasatan to have kept Yahuwah's true Sabbath day or calendar. In all of our studies, we have found throughout Scripture, the Sabbath day is not always on a Saturday. In fact, you will not find the word Saturday in Scriptures at all. And we also found Saturday was day 1 of the Roman week, that was actually determined just like the lunar Sabbatarian weeks. Their weeks in Rome started with Saturday based off when a new moon happened. And our sister Ellie actually has a lot of information about that one. But the divider day every year is what separates the years and divides the numbering of the days, perfectly matching the markers and the heavenly signs Yahuah has given us to determine these things. So also in addition, these verses in Ezekiel and Amos show that the 4 heads of the 4 seasonal months are Sabbath days, just like the weekly Sabbath. No work, no buying or selling. The days Noah ordained in Jubilees chapter 6 as a memorial, therefore showing there is never more than 7 days between Sabbath days at the beginning of the year. So this is where we're going to get into a little bit of HaChodesh. And so the first one we're going to see in Ezekiel 46:1. And again, they're going to mistranslate this as new moon in most, actually all translations, they mistranslate this into new moon, except for, the interlinear. So Ezekiel 46:1. Thus says the Adon Yahuah, the gate of the inner courtyard facing east is shut the 6 days of work. But on the Sabbath, the weekly Sabbath, it is opened. And on the HaChodesh, the head of the months, it is opened, meaning these 4 seasonal heads of months. So HaChodesh, H2320. So if you go specifically to this verse in the Strong's Concordance, you will see it spelled specifically this way. This is the same exact spelling as it's spelled in Jubilees as well, where they also mistranslate it to new moon. But we will see this specific spelling occurs 19 times. All 19 times, which is actually how I found this verses, because we were doing a study of the 19 occurrences of HaChodesh. But it's speaking about one of these 4 seasonal heads of months. It's never speaking about some sliver moon. But we can see on the head of the months, it is open. And on the Sabbath day, it's opened. So that's a really big clue. You know, these 4 seasonal heads of months, or the Noah days, are treated just like a weekly Sabbath day, basically. Or a high Sabbath, you could say. Then we have Amos 8, verses 5 through 6. And so this is when, they're complaining and they're saying, when does the head of the months, HaChodesh, pass so that we can sell grain? And the Sabbath, so we can trade our wheat. So what we're seeing here, again, mistranslated as new moon, but it's not new moon. It's the one of these seasonal heads of months. Actually, all 4 of them, really. They're asking, when's it going to pass so we can sell our grain? So this clue right here saying, oh, we can't sell grain on these heads of months. And then this clue here in Ezekiel saying this gate is open on these heads of the months, is really showing us that these are treated just like a weekly Sabbath day. And then actually here, Marissa, so this is going to be our presentation I wrote up for Jackson Snyder. It's probably the best way to actually go over the calendar. So that's why I have in here Marissa's presentation. But it's actually a good place for Marissa to do her presentation. And she can get into all the, details we were kind of, glancing over a little bit earlier. But what she's going to show us is the priestly ordination, like what Ken had spoken about a little bit, the wheel within the wheel, and the menorah, or the 2 364-day cycles we see. One of the 52 weeks of 7 days, and one of the 12 months of 30 days, plus the 4 intercalated. And, okay, you want, yeah, no, go ahead, play.
Right. So,
Yeah. To it.
Yeah. So I just this is large. I just wanted to absorb and play a song to
Yes, sister.
Okay.
Yeah, let's play a song or two.
All right. So I'll play the one you guys know first, and then I'm gonna play the new one that I wrote yesterday. Actually, I think I'm gonna do that backwards because I was just playing that new one, and I don't want to mess it up now that it's in my head. So, all right. I'm an amateur for anybody who hasn't heard me play yet. But yeah. Also, Talitha and Micah, Rebecca asked me to tell her to join when I was going to play that. Okay. With delight, she works with her hands and she brings in her food from afar. She will consider a field and buy it from her fruits, and she will plant a vineyard. She discerns that her business is good, and her lamp never goes out at night. Show me what beauty means in walking the narrow path with you. I lay down my flesh so there is less of me and more of you. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the days to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and a lesson of kindness is on her tongue. She watches over the ways of her household, and she does not eat the bread of idleness. Show me what beauty means in walking the narrow path with you. I lay down my flesh so there is less of me and more of you. Loveliness is deceptive and prettiness is vain, but a woman who fears God should be praised. Her family rises up and calls her blessed, and all her works will surely shine in the gates. Show me what beauty means in walking the narrow path with you. I lay down my flesh so there is less of me and more of you.
Good job.
Is that a new one? Is that a new one? Oh, it's so pretty.
Praise Yah. Thank you, sister. It's beautiful.
Oh,
Can
I'm
I
so
stop?
glad.
Can I stop dancing now?
As long as you take a video of your dancing, Ken.
Oh, I'm so glad you guys like that. Yeah. It's called the Proverbs 31 Woman, and we'll share. I picked the verses out of that I think that people overlook about what that woman is, who she is, and what she does. And I just wanted to shed light on some of those qualities of her. And then I feel like the course is very relatable for anybody here. So, okay. All right, I'm going to play the other one.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so to segue us back into our calendar topic, this song is called Sanctify Me, Division of Days. I've been walking in the darkness for so long. Now I'm trying to find out where we went wrong. In the wilderness, I put my trust in it. In my journey to get close to you, sanctify me with your glory, oh Yah. Purify your temple and the altar of my heart. Show me your ways and teach me how to keep your division of days according to your word. I'm diligently seeking to understand. I've been reading all about the work of your hands, a profound message that transcends constructs of men, giving us courage to step into the light. Sanctify me with your glory, oh Yah. Purify your temple and the altar of my heart. Show me your ways and teach me how to keep your division of days according to your word. Let your truth be revealed, for the great sign is your anchor. Remove the veil. O Yahuah, your creation renews, and your true Sabbath day will honor you. Sanctify me with your glory, O Yah. Purify your temple and the altar of my heart. Show me your ways and teach me how to keep your division of days according to your word.
Hallelujah.
Praise
Praise
God.
Yah.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Cool. All right. So, Jeremy, I have my presentation on my phone. Do you still have the pictures?
Oh boy.
Huh. Put those doorposts, the two posts. Can you put that one up first?
Here, I'll share it in the chat. 1 second.
Yeah, all right. Do you have that PDF though? Like if you could go looking for it when I talk about this one? Like do you have that with those pictures in order?
I think I do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll do the that consecration of the priest first and then try to find it for like the stars specifically. The second one is the wheel within a wheel, so that's not too bad. I have that picture and I can post that one. But it's the ones in order with the stars that I'd have to go looking to. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'll find it.
go ahead.
I'll find it here. Give me just a second, and
All
when
all
you're
right.
done with that.
All right. So guys, Jeremy posted this picture in the Telegram chat, and that's basically what I'm gonna be talking about. So for a visual, that's what you can look at. All right, so I want to walk us through how scripture and the heavens and the priestly service all confirm the beginning of the year and the pattern of Yahuah's calendar. There are two significant markers that fall within the 7 days between the final Sabbath, which is the 52nd Sabbath of the old year, and the first Sabbath of the new year. So the marker that falls on 316 is what we call the divider day. It's also known as the equinox. And the equinox is the day when day and night appear equal from the ground, as viewed by us here on earth, in the land. And then the other post is 320, the equinox, when day and night are equal by heavenly measure, the straight line balance seen from above. So we have to remember that Enoch was taken above the earth. And when he viewed the parts day and night, he was not viewing it with atmospheric lensing or light refraction the way that we do here on earth. So when we're viewing it from earth, that's the equinox, the divider day, 316. And when you're like the angels in heaven, they're looking down, they view equal day and night as the equinox day. So these are our posts. So these 2 days serve as posts within a sacred 7-day window, which corresponds to the consecration of the priests, the sanctification of the altar, and the glory of Yahuah entering the temple. In Ezekiel 43, we're shown the glory of Yahuah entering the temple from the east, filling his house with light and power. Ezekiel 43, 1-5 says, "Afterward he brought me to the gate, even the gate that looketh toward the east. And behold, the glory of Yahuah came from the way of the east, and his voice was like a noise of many waters, and the earth shined with his glory. And the glory of Yah came into the house by the way of the gate whose prospect is toward the east. So the Spirit took me up, and brought me into the inner court, and behold, the glory of Yah filled the house." This vision aligns with what happens during this 7-day consecration period. It is during this time, specifically on the equinox, 320, that Yahuwah's glory enters his house. The sun rises perfectly in the east, casting a straight line shadow, no distortion, no blending, just pure heavenly light. The temple is filled with it, and the house is sanctified. In verse 8 of the same chapter, Yahuwah says, in their setting of their threshold, by my thresholds, and their post, by my posts. Here Yahuwah makes a distinction, their posts versus his posts. On 3:16, the equilux, day and night appear equal as viewed from the ground by the priests. This is due to atmospheric lensing and light refraction, that is man's posts. But Enoch, when taken above the earth, saw something different. There was no lensing, no refraction, no blending, just pure division. The true straight line day, the equinox, is what Yahuwah sees. That is his post. So within the 7-day frame between the last Sabbath of the year and the first Sabbath of the new year, 3:16 and 3:20 stand as the two posts, the doorposts of this holy entrance, one from the view of man and one from the view of heaven. This 7-day window is not ordinary, though. It is a consecration period, a set-apart time, a pause between the closing of the old year and the opening of the new one, between the 52nd Sabbath and the first Sabbath. Ezekiel 43 says, 7 days shall they purge the altar and purify it, and they shall consecrate themselves. And when these days are expired, it shall be that upon the 8th day, and so forward, that the priest shall make your burnt offerings upon the altar, and your peace offerings, and I will accept you, saith Yahuwah. This mirrors the command given in Torah, and thus shalt thou do unto Aaron and to his sons according to all things which I have commanded thee. 7 days shalt thou consecrate them. Exodus 29:35. And just as in Exodus, this week is not just for rest. It's a purification period, a reset, a moment of sanctification and preparation. On the 8th day, the first Sabbath of the new year, Yahuwah says, I will accept you. Numbers 28 says, and on the Sabbath day, 2 lambs of the first year without spot, and 2/10 deals of flour for a meat offering, mingled with oil, and the drink offering thereof. This is the burnt offering of every Sabbath, beside the continual burnt offering and his drink offering. So, on that 8th day, their offerings are accepted by Yah. We also read in Exodus 29, and there I will meet with the children of Yasharel, and the tabernacle shall be sanctified by my glory. And I will sanctify the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar. I will sanctify also both Aaron and his sons, and I will dwell among the children of Yasharel, and will be their Elohim. This promise, this meeting with Yahuwah, happens during the 7-day consecration period. The equinox 320 falls within this sacred week, and it marks the moment his glory shines into the temple, entering through the eastern gate. But this doesn't mark the end of the process. The entire 7-day period must be completed just as commanded in Torah. Only after the 7th day, on the 8th day, the first Sabbath of the new year, are the priests allowed to offer sacrifices and begin their service. Yahuwah also says, thou, son of man, show the house to the house of Yasharel. Let them measure the pattern and all the ordinances thereof. The pattern is Yahuwah's calendar. The house is his heavenly tabernacle, and the sun, moon, and stars move in and out according to his ordinances. We are called to measure the pattern, not by man's calculations, not by traditions, but by the way Yahuwah has aligned the heavens. Numbers 3 says, but those that encamp before the tabernacle toward the east shall be Moses and Aaron and his sons, keeping the charge of the sanctuary. The priests stand at the east gate watching. They are stationed to keep the charge, to observe the light, and to be ready for the glory of Yahuah to enter. They watch during this transitional week, waiting as the house is filled and the altar is cleansed, and the new cycle is about to begin. So again, just to recap, 316 is the divider day and 320 is the equinox. There are posts within a 7-day sacred period. This period begins after the 52nd Sabbath and ends with the first Sabbath of the new year. These are the days of consecration for the altar, the priests, and the house. The equinox is the day when Yahweh's glory enters, but it is not the end of the process. The full 7 days must be completed before the first offerings are accepted and the New Year's service begins. It's a pattern woven into Scripture and mirrored in the heavens, a time of preparation, sanctification, and alignment with Yahweh's perfect order.
Hallelujah! Well said, Marissa. Absolutely 100% spot on.
Hey,
Praise God.
Ken, I was thinking of not sharing that part, and I said it to Jeremy. I'm like, should I just do the stars and the wheel within the wheel and leave out the consecration of the priest? And then legit, you started talking about the consecration of the priest. So I'm like, well, all right. So that's not going to get left out. It's important. It was so awesome.
The most important thing of the calendar. It's absolutely, isn't it?
It's
Praise
super
him on high.
important.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
No, it's very important.
Oh, Lisa, I was thinking of like copy and pasting these scriptures while I was reading it, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I could like read and go back and
Yeah,
forth with the notepad.
I know. I'm sure. I didn't know if there was a separate like
No,
document or something of this that you're reading.
no, but
So,
I'm just gonna post them right here before I
okay. Awesome.
continue.
Awesome. Sorry. Thank you.
No, you're fine.
Okay, let's see.
You're fine.
Okay.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna. I know, Jennifer. Like, I was like, I literally just said that, and it's not like I said it to Ken. And then he starts talking about the consecration of the priest, and I just said to Jeremy, or never mind.
I
Guess
love how he works.
yeah,
It's so
like
beautiful.
that was awesome. I was like,
Woo!
well, I guess Yah
Oh,
wants that in this, so I'll add
oh
it.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think that Yahushua was consecrated before the first day of creation? Because I really do. Do you know what I mean? I see a father and a son, and I see a father saying to the son, right, you want this? All right, then I will consecrate you, and it's yours if you want to take it.
Hallelujah, brother.
And he
Praise Yah.
and he left his heavenly station in obedience
Yes.
to Yah to take what was created for him in the first place.
Yes. In agreement, brother.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I think I've read somewhere, and actually lining up with the calendar, when he was immersed, it was, at the head of the year at some point, it seems. I haven't studied too deep into that, but, I would agree with what you say, brother. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you
And
got that up. Nice.
and when we look at the there's a very nice parable of the I think Ken Heidelberg gave a very good presentation about it, where actually the sorry, I'm losing my mind. Where I'll come back to you. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries, brother.
All right. So, okay, so the picture that's up on the screen, I also posted it in the Telegram chat, so then like you can click it and zoom in. All right, so this is the wheel within the wheel. All right, so Yahuah's calendar is built on multiple overlapping wheels, like synchronized wheels. Jeremy's done a great job explaining the outermost wheel, which is the weekly cycle. This begins with Genesis 1 through 2, which takes place before the days of creation. So, according to this cycle, there are 52 Sabbaths in a year, followed by a yearly divider day. This divider aligns Genesis 1 through 2, and Jubilees 1:24, setting the stage for the creation week without disrupting the 7-day pattern. So Jubilees 1:24 says, "And the angel of the face who went before the tents of Yasharel took the tablets of the division of years from the time of creation, the law and the testimony for the weeks, and the jubilees, each year according to all its number, and the jubilees according to years, from the day of the new creation, when heaven and earth were created new." This yearly divider day is also known as day 0 in the weekly cycle. It is not counted as part of any week, month, or day count. It stands alone at the end of the year, after the 52nd Sabbath, to reset the cycle and keep the weekly rhythm intact year after year. The solar cycle is a separate but connected wheel. It begins on the 4th day of creation week, when the luminaries, the sun, moon, and stars, were created. Genesis 1:14 through 19. This is where Enoch 72, verse 5, comes in, which describes the Tekufa, the equinox day that begins the solar year. And if you're looking at this picture, if you could look down at the bottom right, I'm going to segue into that picture of the menorah there. So Enoch 72:5 says, "The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east." Okay, so if we look at this menorah in the bottom right, you'll see the top is 1 through 7. So this is our weekly cycle. But between these branches, this gives us a visual of the gates. There are only 6 gates. But you'll notice here where that straight line comes up is right between gates 3 and 4. And it hits that number 4 of the week. So how can both of these be true at the same time, that this straight line occurs between gates 3 and 4, but is also day 4 of the week? And so that's where that weekly cycle is so important to understand. So here, this Tekufa is also referred to as day 0 in the solar cycle only. But unlike the weekly divider, it is counted in the solar cycle. This is why Enoch says there are 364 days. Because 364 minus 0 is still 364. And Enoch 72:5 is that 0. So it serves as the starting point for the 364-day solar year. And according to the Dead Sea Scrolls, the monthly count begins from this Tekufa day, anchoring the months to the turning of the seasons. This is why it's essential that the weekly divider day comes after the 52nd Sabbath, so that Genesis 1 through 2 can serve as the placement for that divider, and the creation week begins cleanly with day 1. This preserves the structure where the sun is created on day 4, the middle of the week, just as it should be. It also ensures the seasons remain fixed in their positions and do not drift. These cycles, when understood together, reveal a beautiful and precise design that keeps time, creation, and the appointed times perfectly aligned. So, in this image, if you zoom in on the arrows corresponding to each date, so at the top in the middle of the picture, you'll see those arrows coming down and highlighting a specific line. You'll notice that the circle of the weekly creation cycle is divided into sections, each representing a week. There are 52 sections in total, symbolizing the 52 weeks of the year. The 52nd week ends and the divider is marked on 3/16. Following that, the first week of the new yearly cycle begins. And we can see that the equinox falls on the 4th day within this first week, which marks the beginning of the monthly count. The monthly cycle is outlined by the Mazzaroth here, with each month represented as a 30-degree segment of the full 360-degree circle. So if you look on that equinox line, you'll see the line extends down into that middle circle where the Mazzaroth are, and it's divided into those equal 30-degree sections. Now, I kind of explained that again. Okay. Well, I'll just read it again. So if we look at the bottom right corner, we see a picture of the menorah. The menorah offers a powerful visual representation of this design. Its 7 branches symbolize the 7 days of creation week, a complete weekly cycle. But the spaces between the branches, 6 in total, reflect something deeper, the portals described in the Book of Enoch. These 6 gates mark the rising and setting positions of the sun throughout the months of the year. The straight central line of the menorah, which separates the 3rd and 4th gates, corresponds to the Tekufa, or equinox. This is the solar day 0, the perfect balance between light and darkness, when day and night are of equal length, just as Enoch would have observed from above the earth, where he saw the true divisions of light and darkness without the distortion of atmospheric lensing or light refraction. So while the top of the menorah displays the flow of creation week and the weekly cycle, the spaces between the branches quietly hold the solar structure, where Yah's precision in the heavens is revealed through the gates, the Tekufa, and the turning of the seasons. The menorah then is not just a symbol of light, it is a picture of time and order, bearing witness to how Yahuah aligned his creation with exactness and beauty. And so just to tie into the first part about the consecration of the priests and the doorposts, if there is a 0 in the weekly cycle, which is 3/16 is the divider, there has to be one that corresponds in that solar cycle as well. So those are the 2 doorposts that hold creation week intact. I just want to pause here for any questions.
Could you explain light refraction for people and what you're saying about the...
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's something that it's been explained to me a couple times, but I'm still having a hard time with it. Like, I know you showed like a visual of like a glass of water and a straw and how it kind of separates a little bit, but just maybe for the people here to try to understand that.
Yeah, so it's refraction is the bending of light as it passes from one space to another. So depending on how far away from us the sun is, it's going to change our perspective on how much light we're getting in our area. So, and then like atmospheric lensing, if you guys have ever like looked into biblical cosmology, if you, for example, like have a telescope on a beach, okay, and you can see a ship on the top of the water, and then that ship goes out of view. It's not because of curvature in the water, because water is level, but because of atmospheric lensing. So basically, the atmosphere becomes too thick, and then you can no longer see it anymore. There's so much atmosphere between you and that boat, you will no longer see it. However, if you use that telescope and you zoom in, you're going to see that boat there still. So it's just like to our eye why we cannot see that. So on our perspective, standing here on the earth, we have to take those like laws of like physics of light into account, of like when we're going to see that equal day and light. And it's really dependent on our location on earth. But on 316, that is that day of equal day and night in the land where the temple was. I think it's more important that this day falls after the 52nd Sabbath, but it adds like artistic detail, if you will, to recognize that that is the equilux in Jerusalem. And then, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know if Ken's microphone was just on. He was talking to somebody else, but until he comes back, I have a question, Marissa. In this diagram or this picture,
Yeah.
what are those symbols? Not the stars, the symbols after the numbers.
Oh, like in the middle?
Yeah, like
Yeah. Those
what?
are
I'm just
those are
curious.
like the zodiac symbols. Like
Okay.
the yeah. That was a like a stock image that I found, so I didn't insert those symbols purposely, but I did want to add the shape of the constellations for sure.
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
gotcha. No, sorry. I gotta redo my
No,
wheel
you're
now.
fine.
Okay, thank you.
So
Yeah.
with that said about that diagram, then is it possible in the future that we could create a new one and only use what we are trying to present, opposed to, because I got uh sorry, I'm echoing. I got confused by those symbols as well, and was wondering if all of the different symbols and stuff on this diagram are what this group uses or whatever. And so you're saying that the zodiac or whatever that's because this group doesn't really follow the zodiac. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's more about the shape of the stars there, because that is what the constellation looks like.
I think in that center hole ought to be the Tav.
Yeah. I can erase those symbols. It's really just like, I guess, like extra added detail, because if you like download any star app on your phone and you're like trying to look at, oh well, what's the symbol that the sun is in right now, those are the symbols that any like modern day thing will use.
So it's just like a reference to those sites. It's not necessarily, we're using them. It's just kind of like how we say, okay, well, today is, Gregorian Sunday. And that's their way of acknowledging or whatever those particular constellations, right?
Yeah. I don't
It's
really
just,
know the history of those
no,
symbols,
I
but
don't either.
I can make another picture without them and just erase them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just for your reference. This is what they're referring to when they're seeing these particular constellations. This is what the symbols that they do use in the sites. It's just helpful.
Yeah.
I have a
Can
question.
I,
Oh, what?
please, if you don't mind, can I come back to atmospheric lensing? Because
Yeah.
for me, I kind of get what the direction that you're going in with this, but Enoch was taken above us.
Yep.
He's not seeing atmospheric lensing, as I believe. He's
Right.
seeing something looking through water from another heaven. He probably is in the third heaven at this stage, and he's looking down from the third heaven through water onto earth. So that would be the straw in the water kind of scenario, rather than atmospheric lensing. I think he's just seeing through water what he would view through the water down on Earth. And I don't think it's atmospheric lensing. I just think it's the diffraction that water would cause using light.
Ken, I was saying Enoch was viewing the equinox day because he's not seeing that light refraction because he's not on the earth. He's taken above the earth. And we only witness that on the earth, and that's what gives us our equal lux day, which is the divider day.
Yeah, but you're using atmospheric lensing as a reason for his distortion. All I'm saying that
No, for the equal lux distortion, Ken.
what I'm saying, he would be above the waters, and he'd be looking through the waters, and looking through the waters would cause the diffraction, rather than. Do you see what I mean?
Hey, Ken, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, here's an example. Let's do it backwards. Whatever he's seeing from the heavenlies on the earth is backwards from what we're seeing. It's kind of like in the heavens, it's Father and the Spirit sent forth and the Son, and we have to go through the Son to get the Spirit and get back to the Father. So it's backwards here for us. That makes sense?
Well, if the equilux and equinox are both pillar days, then I would say that they're both equally as important, and not one day is the same day seen from two different angles, would it not?
Well, we're seeing it in a backwards angle. We're seeing it from the earth up to the heavenly. And what Enoch's seeing is from the heavenly down to the earth.
Oh, I understand that. The 12 hours day and night is the spiritual straight line, and then you have the physical straight line with the one that we actually see, which is longer daytime period than a nighttime period, letting you know that the solar year had already started, plus it signifies day 4, so that way the first 3 days prior should have been the first 3 days of the year. So, but yeah, it keeps everything intact, and it keeps the line, it keeps everything in check. And no
Yeah.
matter how many days happens in between those two pillars, because we do get a leap year every now and again, I guess. I don't know. I haven't been doing this long enough. But no matter how many days happens in between those two pillars, the first pillar signifies the end of the year, and the next pillar signifies the beginning of your month.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Like explaining the equal lux, how people get that is really just like an added detail in here because it just happens that way in Jerusalem. Where the equinox, that's the vernal equinox, that's going to begin our months, and the sun does make that straight line shadow, so we can witness that too. But if you're approaching this subject just solely at when is equal day and night, well, anywhere you look, you're going to see, oh, it's not exactly on the equinox. But that's why, because of that atmospheric lensing that I was explaining. And so you would get that equal day and night on 3/16 in Jerusalem, which just happens to coincide with the divider day after the 52nd Sabbath. So these are our doorposts, just like Sean explained there. One signifies that end of the year, and then one signifies to begin the month.
My point being, atmospheric lensing for me, equal day, equal night is no matter where you are in the world, etc., latitude, longitude. It's not a day. Can I assume then that Enoch was viewing the world from above the waters, where it was equal day, equal night, and then
I don't know if he was looking through water, though, Ken.
I just
So,
think I saw the entire solar year that the sacred year sits inside of. And then the moon calendar, the 354-day wheel sits inside of that one.
yeah, so I think what Marissa was just trying to explain is, so here down on Earth, underneath the firmament, there's the water in our atmosphere is what they call it. It's more of an atmos plane, but so there's enough water to, fill the entire Earth up with like 7 feet of water, like everything under 7 feet of water at least, even the tallest mountains. So it's up in the air in its vapor form. So basically, like when you have a straw in a glass of water, you see how it bends that straw, and it'll like bend it down, and it'll also magnify it as well. So that's what she's referring to. So Enoch was taken above all of that. So there was no bending, no refraction, no magnification. This is also why we don't see Enoch describing the blendings, because he was taken above all of that. There was no blendings from his view. It's just either light or dark. There was no Layla or Boker, or Rev or Booker.
Yeah, no evening or morning. Like those twilight hours. They were not
Yes,
there.
because he was taken above all of this. So he just saw it straight from Yahuah's view, how it should be. So if it was like that, we would have equal day and equal night falling on the Tekufa, or the day before. Since it's not like that, because all of that is bending, because they're in the heavens, that equal day and equal night, that's why that varies depending on your location. Because the closer you are to the equinox, the closer to that date you're going to have equal day and equal night. So if you're closer to the equator, you're going to experience equal day and equal night on the 19th. And then it'll happen on the 20th for the straight line to Kufa. So the further away that refraction and bending of light, it's actually taking that equal day, equal night, and it's curving it. And that's why Israel is the important location. And not only that's because that's where the sons of Zadok were, that's where the Dead Sea Scrolls are found. That's his chosen land. So they would be observing it from his chosen land on the exact date it should be. And so she was just basically explaining it's that bending of the light that happens. And because, time doesn't affect Yahuah, and that's why we're seeing it on different dates depending on your geographical location. That's why the importance of location is important. I hope that explains it.
Carmen, what was your question?
My question was, have you considered it from the viewpoint of at the North Pole where Mount Zion is, or from the Philippines, which is the land of creation where the sun comes out from? Why Jerusalem specifically, I guess?
Because that's where the priests were.
But the Holy of Holies and the Garden of Eden are and the Mount of the East, Safar, are in the Philippines. And then the Mount Zion is at the North Pole. We have Saudi Arabia, which is Mount Sinai. So we have the three holy mountains that make a pyramid. So I just wondered, like, from those three locations, if you had looked at it.
So we don't agree with Tim's views about everything, and sure, he has a lot of good information, but we don't know for sure that's where the Garden of Eden is. Just because Tim from the God culture says that does not necessarily make it true. So,
but they've put out a case over 7 years.
yeah,
They've got AI.
we've gone over that, and we vehemently
Yeah, but there's
disagree
enough
with what he
evidence
says.
out there now that says that the United States is the place of the ancient promised land. I mean, it's the only place in the entire world that has a mountain that's cleaved in two from east to west by a rift. It's the only one, and it's just east of Arkansas. It's the only one that has a river that matches the Nile River spoken of in Scripture that has 7 heads on it. It's the only river in the entire world that matches that. It's, there's also a location up in Canada that is eerily similar to Babylon that matches the footprint. So there's a lot of evidence that supports that the United States is the location, which is why it was sought after by the Masons. And they called it the New City of Light.
There's a lot of that same stuff in Australia. There's a lot of the same stuff all across the earth.
But did you see the river system up under the ocean floor?
Yes, we know about all that. I would agree with him that yes, those rifts could be the rivers of Eden. But what we don't agree with is his point of view. He has a biased point of view for the Philippines because he's married to a Filipina. So of course he's gonna. Not that I'm disagreeing with everything he says, but he's claiming the Garden of Eden was taken to the Philippines when Enoch's describing it as in the heavens up above in the firmaments, because he was taken there in the heavens and saw the garden.
Then how did
Noah's
father call out to him, and how did he come walk out to say hi and answer his questions?
He was
about
taken
Noah?
there in his vision. So the Garden of Eden, as described by the book of Enoch, is in one of the firmaments of heaven, one of these layers of heaven. It's not in the Philippines. He said he was taken there and he even saw the tree of life.
Yeah. I'll have to agree with that. I've considered all these other locations, for years, look at all of them until I finally realized that the landscape has changed so much and multiple times since the beginning creation story. I mean, the landscape today is not even close to what it used to be. With every catastrophic reset, even the Bible says the mountains have moved, and so I don't think we can really know, but it definitely is in a different dimension or up in the firmament. At least for now. I'll have to agree with that.
If I could just add something, I can't find my Jubilees, but actually, I think what Carmen said was true. So I don't believe that the garden was taken up into the heavens until the floodwaters came, because it said that the garden was removed from the earth and then the flood waters came. So Noah did talk to Enoch, his grandfather, or is it great grandfather, in person, because he was lamenting over, what was about to befall, and Enoch was giving him, because it said that he came out of the garden to talk with Noah.
And
So
his father and grandfather, when he was born, uniquely, because he was albino and his eyes glowed and all that. So
right, yeah, and like I said, like it, in either Enoch or Jubilee, I think it's Jubilees. I really can't find my book right now, which is a little irritating, but it does describe that the garden was taken up before the floodwaters came on the earth.
I see it being sealed and closed off by angels because it's an enclosed garden. So it's by definition surrounded and there's just one entrance, but it could be inside the earth under the water. That's my understanding. I mean, you'd have to show me the verse, I guess, where it says be taken up because I haven't seen that. But
Yeah, I will find that, and I'm trying to. But yeah, I see what you're saying, and we have to think of it like this. The angels aren't just guarding for humans, right? They're guarding from anybody that can walk to and fro, which Hasatan in the time of Job was able to go to and fro. Yet, they have to have angels to guard, because not just anybody can go in, right? Even the evil angels that can still go to and fro. So it's still, you're needing guarding over the garden, even if it's in one of the heavens.
right, but even if it's inside the earth, it's guarded on just the one side, the east, is what scripture says, and then it's enclosed. So there's only one entrance. So there's the cherubim with their swords, outside on the east part of it. Anyway, that's my understanding of it. So I just was curious what, because there's other sources that say Mount Sinai is in Saudi Arabia, and we know that's one of Yahuah's holy mountains. We know Mount Zion is at the North Pole, and that's one of Yahuah's holy mountains. The other thing I would say about the geography changing, Timothy and his team have mapped out in the Answers and Jubilees series the whole description that Enoch gave of all the tongues of the earth of Jubilees 8, and they perfectly mapped out the land divisions, and it fits, so I would encourage you guys to check that case out before you dismiss that, because the waters,
So
it's a very good description of the geography.
So I myself have been following Tim for quite some years. I've seen all his videos, his presentations. Some things I would agree with, a lot of things I would not. So the thing what we teach here is, test everything for yourself. We can't be hanging on Tim's words. We can't hang on my
but
words.
what don't you agree with, Jeremy?
I don't believe that, the Garden of Eden is here on earth. But regardless of the point where I was going, is that really doesn't have much to do with what we're speaking about right here. People will have different views on where they think the land is. And all I was saying is where the sons of Zadok were, Ezekiel 44, they were right there where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. That's the exact location that fits all of these things that we're describing. So honestly, it's not really equal day and equal night. You don't need it as much as you need the straight line shadow, because as long as you have that straight line shadow, it doesn't matter where you are. You're going to know day 4 of creation week is there, and that's going to be day 1 of month 1.
And actually, the Torah was given at Sinai in Saudi Arabia. So for their first 40 years of wandering through the tabernacle, that would have been the location they were using.
To Israel. Yeah, I know Ron Wyatt. I actually agree with a lot of Ron Wyatt's findings. But, Marissa was just basically explaining the difference between the view Enoch was having and the view we see here from Earth. It's going to be different. And she actually has a lot of evidence in the stars themselves that she was about to go over as well.
Yeah, do you have those pictures, Jeremy?
Yeah, I do actually, right below this one.
Yeah. All right. So, let's see. Okay. So, yeah, there's some parts. So just like leave it on, yeah, just leave it on that for now. And I'm going to read this part, okay? All right. So, I'm sure you guys have heard the precession of the equinox, and so I just want to address that quick. Before we begin this next portion, it's important to understand something about how we track the stars. There's a popular theory known as the precession of the equinox, which suggests that the position of the constellation shifts slowly over thousands of years due to a wobble in the Earth's rotation. However, there's no way to prove this theory through direct observation alone, only through man-made simulations and digital programs like Stellarium. It's important to understand that the theory of the precession of the equinox does not change the sun's yearly path. The sun is the primary light and the main timekeeper in Yah's calendar, establishing the great sign mentioned in the Book of Jubilees. The moon and stars simply act as supporting witnesses. Wisdom of Solomon 7:17 through 19 says, "It is he who gave me true knowledge of the forces of nature, what the world is made of, how the elements behave, how the calendar is determined by the movements of the sun, the changing seasons, the constellations, and the cycles of years." But in reality, we can only know for sure what we can witness with our own eyes, right now in the present. The heavens were created as signs to mark appointed times and seasons, and the most reliable way to read them is by simply going outside and watching, just as people have done for thousands of years. And when we do that, when we look up and observe with our own eyes, we begin to notice something amazing. There is order and timing and meaning written in the stars. So let's walk through what it actually means when we say the sun enters a constellation and how the heavens bear witness to the times we're in. So the sky is a giant wheel made up of stars, just like in that previous picture, the wheel within a wheel. It's a giant wheel made up of stars divided into 12 equal sections, each one representing a constellation or Mazzaroth or zodiac sign. Each of these sections is about 30 degrees wide. At the beginning of a solar month, the sun is positioned right at the start of one of these 30-degree sections. That's what we mean when we say the sun has entered a new constellation. Jeremy, if you could share a picture too.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
All right. Okay, awesome. Yeah, just zoom in a little bit. But this is March 20th, 2025 that he zoomed in on. So, for example, on the spring equinox, about an hour after sunset, when the stars are then visible, the constellation Aries appears low in the west. The stars in the western sky gives us an indicator for the current solar month we are in. So, I'm just showing you a picture using this star app because it has more detail than if I just took a picture with my phone of the sky. But you can see the sun at the bottom of that screenshot. So this is 1 hour after sunset. And now, the light is gone. You're going to see those stars appear in the sky. And here's the Mazzaroth that is in the west following the sun. The sun as at the beginning 30 degrees section that Aries is in. in the wheel of stars. So that's the current solar month we're in. And there are instruments such as a astrolabe that have these written on it. So this is how people were able to tell time back in the day. They were very well acquainted with the stars. And just like that one verse that Jeremy read, with Abraham, and he's looking at observing the stars from evening to morning. There's a lot more information that they give us than just what has been revealed to this group thus far, and I'm looking forward to getting more of that.
Can I ask a question real quick? Sorry.
Sure.
With me coming out of one of the lunar observant groups, interesting that you're saying. So you're. Let me correct me if I'm wrong. You guys, when you're looking at the stars and the different pictures that are presented within the stars or the constellations or whatever, you are looking at when the sun is, like you're saying right here, where the sun is with those groups of stars. Am I correct? You're looking at the sun being with those groups when it rises, correct?
Yeah, so this is when it's set. This is at sunset, and then that's the constellation you'll see in the west. And so,
but it's the sun, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so interestingly, the lunar groups, or at least the full moon lunar group, believes they look at those groupings of the stars, but they see it when the moon rises with those groupings of the star, opposed to, and that's the moon rising with the grouping of the star, as full moon. And now, so you're saying the sun when it's setting with a grouping of the stars. I'm just trying to differentiate so I can kind of pull my brain out from what I've already been programmed with this other group. So I'm really trying to grasp what you're saying opposed to what I've already been programmed.
Yeah, so the stars are not they're not like if you look at the sky today at the constellation that's in the west, and then at the very same time tomorrow, you may not notice the difference one day makes because it's 1 degree. Like, how are you going to measure that with the naked eye? That would be, challenging. But every month when we flip through the months, there's a different constellation that's in the west. So, like, could we know roughly, oh, we're about halfway through the month when an hour after sunset, half of Aries is down? Yeah, like you'd be able to tell, but are we going to be able to tell, is it the 14th day or the 15th day of the month? Maybe not, because it's only a 1 degree difference.
So when you observe at sunset, the sun being with a grouping of stars, is it at the beginning of each month? When do you typically observe that?
So this that I have up on the screen is March 20th. So the beginning of the first month, an hour after sunset, when you'll actually see the stars. It can't be the constellation that the sun is directly in front of in that moment, because you will not see the stars. They will not be visible because the sun is so bright. So this is our indicator. And we've all heard that before, like the tropical year begins in Aries. Well, how could that even be possible? Well, here's how it's possible, because that's what you're going to see in the West. All right. So Jeremy, flip to picture 3.
I think I understand, but so every month you observe a grouping of the stars, a constellation with the sun setting. Is it an every month thing? Is it a once a year thing?
Every month you're going to see a different Mazzaroth there.
So it's with the sun though. Great. Not with the moon.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, but I will get to the moon, because the moon gives us is a witness to this as well.
I
So
also went and got Miss Ellie too, because she was also a lunar keeper. So I
yeah,
thought she could help her out with some understanding later on.
yeah. All right, Jeremy, go to picture 3, the next picture.
All right. Yeah, give me 1 second. So we have 5 minutes left of this recording. Let me stop this one, and then I'll start another one so we don't have a interruption there.
All right.
Give me just 1 sec.
And I just want to say how awesome it is and what a great turnout today has been.
I think we're up to 29 people.
30, actually.
You saw 30? Awesome.
I saw 30, yeah.